Chapter 1475. The marshal watched as Xiao Lu helped Lu Qin deal with his injuries. His technique was extremely skilled. "You brat, you don't know how to refine medicine, but you have a ghost pet to take care of everything for you? Why don't I have such a ghost pet?" Lu Chun tilted his head and said weakly, "Senior, I really don't have the talent for refining medicine. Besides, even if I did, I wouldn't be as good as Little Green." The marshal glanced at Little Green and nodded slightly. "It's indeed a talent that's one in a million," Little Green smiled. As he treated Lu Chen's injuries, he said, "Senior, you flatter me. If it weren't for Boss, Little Green definitely wouldn't have the ability to become an immortal apothecary." Lu Chun glanced at the marshal. "Senior, if your soul leaves the body, then your body won't turn into a wooden puppet, right? How is that possible? You brat, are you suspecting that I'll be discovered? Let me tell you, I'm well aware of the situation over there. Your friends are trapped." Suddenly, the marshal realized that he had let it slip. Telling Lu Chun the situation over there was equivalent to helping Lu Chun. "You brat, are you trying to trick me from time to time?" Nine Nether glared at Lu Chun. Forget it. I won't help you fight anyway. You're lucky that Iron Armor and Mountain Elf didn't kill your friends. They only sealed their spirit cores temporarily and waited for you to walk right into their trap." Lu Chun heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Netherworld and the rest were fine. Lu Chen's injuries were more or less treated. However, his spiritual power was in a mess and needed to be channeled slowly. The marshal and Little Green didn't disturb Lu Chen anymore. Half an hour later, Lu Chun adjusted his spiritual power and waited for Little Critter and the rest to return. According to the agreed time, the four beasts came back one after another. Little Critter and Rhubarb were the first to arrive. Newer veins are so good. The Divine Might Stones are so easy to pick up." The Little Critter said proudly, "Dad, I found a lot of Divine Might Stones for you." After saying that, he took out over 100 God Power Stones from his backpack. Although they were not as big as the ones tested in the Battle of the Titans, there were many of them. His and Rhubarb's combined wealth was quite impressive. "Dad, when you absorbed the Divine Might Stone last time, the increase in your cultivation was equivalent to cultivating in the splitting Heaven Holy Land for a month. Combined with Rhubarb's and mine, it was equivalent to at least a year," the little beast said proudly. "From now on, Rhubarb and I are the big brothers among the 5 beasts." While they were talking, Little Originator had also returned. The amount that Little Originator had gathered was actually 30% more than what Big Yellow had gathered. Seeing Su Yuan's harvest, Rhubarb stared at Su Yuan in shock. "Su Yuan, how could you gather so much?" "Roar." Su Yuan said to call it boss in the future. Not long after, the 1,000 Machine Squad came back. The total amount of Divine Might Stones collected by the 4 puppets was slightly more than Little Critter. Qinji, how did you find so much?" Qinji said expressionlessly. He did not dare to show off in front of Little Critter. After all, Little Critter was Lu Chen's son. "We are Earth puppets. We are underground now, so we found more." Rhubarb said sourly, "I didn't expect you to be so hard-working. I thought you were just slacking off." Little Green smiled. "We are all in the same boat. If anything happens to Boss, Qinji will die too. He must have thought it through. That's why he tried so hard." Lu Chun looked at the pile of Divine Might Stones in front of him. Although they were all fragments, and the amount was far less than the amount of nether gold ores, it was already unexpected to find so many here. "This is great. With these Divine Might Stones, I might be able to break through to the next level." At this moment, Rhubarb suddenly exclaimed, That piece over there is a Divine Might Stone? Why is it so big? Why is that stone walking on its own?" Everyone's gaze turned in that direction. That was until they saw a small figure carrying a huge rock at the base of the boulder, moving quickly towards them. "It's Little Furball," Lu Chen exclaimed. Little Furball placed the huge stone in front of everyone and climbed onto Lu Chen's shoulder, squeaking nonstop. What it meant was, "Boss, this piece of mine is the biggest. They have to call me Big Brother in the future." After Little Furball brought the huge stone back, the battle for the 4 beasts' identity was settled. The divine might stone brought back by little fur ball was too big. It was as big as a fake mountain. It was enough to crush everyone's harvest. Little Critter looked at Rhubarb. Rhubarb, aren't you good at finding things? How come everyone can find more than you? Rhubarb shook his head and sighed. Have you forgotten? I can only track spiritual energy and not look for divine might stones. Now that we are in a mine, how can we differentiate? So you don't have any advantage? Little Critter opened its eyes wide. Rhubarb smiled. I didn't say I have any advantage. You're the one who insisted on following me. What a loss. Luchin didn't care who was the big brother and who was the little brother. What he wanted to do now was to absorb these divine might stones as soon as possible. Others might not be able to absorb the chaotic divine might stones directly, but Luchin didn't have any problem absorbing them. Every single piece of godly might stone could be completely absorbed by him. You guys continue to look for more. I will absorb the ones here first. It won't take too long, Luchin said. Little Critter immediately responded, All right, 2 out of 3 rounds. Let's compete again. This time, we will definitely not look for Rhubarb. The 4 beasts and Xianji dispersed while Luchin started to absorb the chaotic spiritual energy from the chaotic divine might stones. He took a palm-sized divine might stone and absorbed all the chaotic spiritual energy in less than a minute. The divine might stone in his hand also became dull. Boss, how do you feel? Little Green asked. Luchin's mental state was obviously better than before. He smiled and said, This divine might stone is equivalent to a day's worth of cultivation. It's unbelievable that I can improve so much within a minute. According to the time ratio, it was equivalent to 1,440. When Steel Armor and Mountain Elf recover, it shouldn't be difficult for them to find me. It's a race against time. The absorption effect was good. Luchin immediately started to absorb the second divine might stone. Steel Armor sealed the spiritual cores of Netherworld and the rest. He then looked at the mine behind him and said coldly, You guys go and collect divine might stones, as long as it's not nether gold, or I want all the other materials. Netherworld snorted, Kill us if you dare. You want us to help you? Dream on. Steel Armor walked in front of Netherworld gold and sized it up. Then, he looked at the Bone Demon. Suddenly, Steel Armor inserted his hand into the Bone Demon's abdomen and pulled out a piece of bone. Ah! The Bone Demon immediately screamed, its face pale. Kill you? What a joke. You're still very useful to us. If you die, that guy will have no more worries and might run away. Iron Armor weighed the white bone in his hand. You undead race only began to be reborn after you turned into white bones, avoiding the trial of your inner demons during your tribulation. But what you don't know is that if you want to become a powerhouse, you should abandon your so-called emotions. Every man for himself. This world is one where the strong prey on the weak. However, this is good. At least you have weaknesses. Steel Armor's eyes turned cold. If you dare to resist, I'll pull out your life bones one by one. With that, Steel Armor crushed the bone in his hand. The Bone Demon immediately shed its human appearance and turned into a skeleton. It knelt on the ground in agony. You despicable person. Withered Claw was furious. Let's go. Netherworld shouted. Let her go. Chapter 1476. Taijia and Mountain Elf extracted 1 life bone each from Yuming, Withered Claw, Bone Demon, Dezhuang, and Marshall. Then, they let them mine while they cultivated. If they hadn't consumed a lot of energy before, how could they have let Luchin escape? As long as they recovered their strength, killing Luchin would be a piece of cake. They also had medicinal pills on them. At this rate, they would recover in a few hours. Yuming, Withered Claw, Bone Demon, Dezhuang, and Marshall all turned into skeletons and mined on the side. Although the undead could be resurrected with bones, they had to be life bones. The significance of life bones to the undead was as important as the heart of the human race. However, they only had 3 life bones. Occasionally, powerful undead would cultivate 1 more, but it would not exceed 5. Bone Demon had lost 2 life bones and was very weak. He cannot even maintain his human appearance. Bone Demon, are you okay? I'm fine. I won't die. Bone Demon gasped. Ah, Senior de Zhuang, you, and Senior Marshal are undead? Withered Claw looked at de Zhuang, who was mining seriously. This guy was also in skeleton form. De Zhuang was angry. You're the undead. Aye. I'm faking it. Damn it, I even had to help this guy in disguise. If I had known earlier, I would have gone to Lu Chun. De Zhuang glanced at Marshall. What about your spirit core? Has it been sealed too? De Zhuang snorted. Of course it's faking it too. Do the two of them want to seal my spirit core? Senior De Zhuang, why don't you do something? You don't understand. De Zhuang knocked on the wall and dug out a piece of luo inkstone. In short, don't count on me. These two people were obviously not ordinary people. Moreover, Lu Chen had said before that they would not help. So, Yuming gave up trying to persuade the two to help. Sai, what should we do now? The two of them will probably recover in a few hours. They have set up the Earth Ghost trapping formation in advance. If Lu Chun can't escape, he will be killed by the two of them. Dry Claw frowned. Bone Demon said weakly, I only hope that Brother Quan can escape by himself and avenge us in the future. It would be great if that guy could escape on his own. Yuming shook his head. I'm just afraid that he would really come back to save us. Then, there would really be no hope. At the same time, Lu Chun was in another mining room a few hundred meters away from Taijia. He was madly absorbing the primal godly might stone. In less than an hour, the dull stones around him had piled up into a small hill. These were the primal chaos god might stones whose spiritual energy had been absorbed by him. Before this, Lu Chen's strength had already exceeded that of a 3-star Renwan. After cultivating for more than half a year and absorbing a piece of testing stone, it was equivalent to cultivating for 7 or 8 months. And now, after absorbing so many god might stones, Lu Chen's spiritual energy was growing at an extremely fast speed. In the end, the only thing left was the huge rock that the little fur ball had brought back. Lu Chun placed his hands on the boulder and quickly absorbed the spiritual energy. Pure primal chaos spiritual energy continuously flowed into Lu Chen's body and was quickly absorbed by his spirit core. It strengthened his spirit core. Before Lu Chun could completely absorb all the spiritual energy in the boulder, Lu Chun suddenly felt his spirit core operating at a high speed. Then, the thick liquid spiritual energy began to flow throughout his body, nourishing his bones, muscles, blood. His entire body was indescribably comfortable. He was about to break through. Lu Chun sat cross-legged and focused on breaking through. At this moment, Lu Chen's muscles and bones suddenly contracted as if he was compressing all the energy in his body into his current body. After this breakthrough, Lu Chen's height, which was originally 8 meters, was now only a little over 8 meters. Lu Chen took a deep breath and glanced at his badge. 4-star Wild Divine Demon Human Emperor, mutated. 4-star. Lu Chen's eyes widened. I'm confident that I can kill those two after advancing another star. Lu Chen placed his hands on the boulder again. The marshal narrowed his eyes and watched Lu Chen advance by 1 star in front of him. He walked to Little Green's side and asked, Does your master usually level up like this? If he only improves his spiritual energy and physical attributes, it's useless no matter how high his level is. If his combat experience, skills, and techniques can't keep up, he won't be able to defeat those two. Little Green lowered his head to grind the herbs and said with a smile, Senior 9 Nether, although Little Green doesn't know how to fight, in my opinion, as long as my boss level increases, no one will be able to defeat him. Oh, you're quite confident. The marshal smiled. Little Critter's competition was still going on. 2 hours later, Little Originator carried a huge boulder of ore and killed everyone in one hit. After Rhubarb and Little Critter separated, the number of ores they collected was at the bottom and became the least. Little Critter, on the other hand, was quite lucky. It managed to find 2 mid-grade god power stones and a few other pieces. Shinji's performance was stable. Moreover, the 4 puppets worked together and collected quite a lot of ores. Lu Chun had just absorbed the first batch of god power stones, and this group of people sent over a second batch, which was even more than the previous batch. It seems that the surrounding god power stones are almost all gone. Qianji said, "Should we dig a little further?" Little Critter thought for a while and said, "It's too far away from the branch vein. The battle there shouldn't be able to affect such a long distance. I'm afraid that there might be primordial beasts gathering there. It'll be troublesome if we attract them. Let's look around. There's a big mine deeper in. Dad's 4-star rank has increased by 1/3. If we can find more big ores and upgrade to 5-star, we won't have to be afraid of those too." 2 hours later, the third batch of ores was completed. Although they did not get a lot of ores this time, the quality was quite good. Other than Rhubarb and Little Furball, everyone else had found big ores. I've calculated. Little Critter is the first, I'm the second, and Rhubarb is the third. However, Little Furball is not back yet. Normally, it should be the first. So, although Big Brother is not sure, I'm sure that it's you, Rhubarb. Ha ha ha, Rhubarb. I didn't expect you to lose in treasure hunting. Little Green could not help but laugh. Rhubarb looked depressed. How is this treasure hunting? This is picking up treasures. You're bullying me because I haven't recovered my strength. I think there's something wrong with this competition. I don't accept the final result. Rhubarb was unhappy. Don't forget that other than Xiao Min, I'm the first one to follow Big Brother. You guys are his underlings. Are you trying to deny it? Impossible. You're his underling from now on. The three beasts didn't agree and started fighting again. However, after a while, everyone realized that something was wrong. Little Furball was not back yet. At this moment, a white figure was running toward them. It was holding a black crystal in its paw. Its color seemed different from the usual holy might stones. This guy was squeaking loudly as he ran. Little Furball? What? It led the chaos beast to it. Luchin opened his eyes abruptly and flashed to the side of the Little Furball. Little Furball handed the crystal to Luchin. As soon as the crystal was in his hand, Luchin was shocked by the weight of the crystal. What is this? Why is it so heavy? The general squinted his eyes and looked at the crystal in Luchin's hand. This is the Chaos Holy Might Crystal. What did this white mouse dig? He actually found the Holy Might Crystal. The stone wall in the distance was suddenly collapsed by a huge force. Following that, hundreds of furious chaos beasts rushed forward and pounced on him. Chapter 1477. It seemed like Little Furball had dug too deep and attracted a large group of chaos beasts. No one knew how many chaos beasts were in the tunnel. If they were allowed to rush in, Luchin and the rest would not be able to escape from the mine. Luchin's eyes widened when he saw the endless stream of beasts of chaos rushing into the cave. He roared, "Block the entrance!" Celestial Demon Symbiosis. Dragon God form. Virtual form. Luchin quickly activated this form. Tiger descends the mountain. Virtual form. Holy Lotus Sword Heart. Luchin's chaos attack could break through the defenses. After leveling up, the Holy Lotus Sword Heart's attacks were even more powerful. Thousands of sword auras rushed toward the tunnel. The three beasts also rushed into the crowd of chaos beasts, cooperating with Luchin's attacks to stop the chaos beasts from rushing in. The Holy Lotus Sword Heart and firepower could only stop the chaos beasts from rushing in. They could not kill them directly. Quick Shadow Spear. Luchin pulled out his god-slaying spear and rushed into the crowd of chaos beasts. With one strike, a mid-level chaos beast fell to the ground. Its corpse fell at the tunnel entrance. Demon Clone, Buddha Clone, blocked the tunnel entrance. Virtual form, Endless Dawn. Luchin did not dare to stop. He attacked with his spear and sword, killing a single chaos beast and the rest. More and more chaos beasts fell under Luchin's crazy attacks. Earth Guardian. Qianji and the four puppets quickly appeared in front of Luchin and activated their combined Earth Rock shield. After being strengthened, the Earth Guardian's defense was even more terrifying. The four of them combined their defense and finally relieved the pressure on everyone. The corpses and clones gradually blocked the tunnel entrance. The chaos beasts behind them found it harder and harder to enter the mine. Just as Lu Chun and the rest heaved a sigh of relief, a loud boom came from another stone wall. "Oh no, they're planning to come in from there," Little Beast said anxiously. Immediately after, another wall began to shake violently. "How many chaos beasts are there?" Little Beast was very anxious. "Dad, we can't seal all the entrances at the same time." Lu Chen's mind worked quickly. The chaos beast tunnels were everywhere. At that moment, the chaos beasts were like a stream of water that had been forcefully suppressed. It was only a matter of time before they charged in. The chaos beasts leading the way were not very powerful. If they met a powerful chaos beast, they would be in trouble. The surrounding walls of the mine could not withstand the impact of so many chaos beasts. They were already on the verge of collapsing. The chaos beasts were probably frantically opening up new passageways and attacking this mine from all directions. Everyone was in danger. Lu Chun suddenly looked at the small crystal in his hand. This crystal was clearly different from ordinary god might stones. It was terrifyingly dense, and even Lu Chun could feel the extraordinary weight of this small crystal. Taking a deep breath, Lu Chun gritted his teeth and said, "These chaos beasts are attacking in such an organized manner. There must be a powerful chaos beast commanding them. Capture the leader first. If I can kill the leader of the chaos beasts, I might still have a chance of survival. Let me see if I can absorb this crystal. Little Green, Rhubarb, come back." Lu Chun called Little Green and Rhubarb back. Then, he quickly sat cross-legged and began absorbing the crystal's energy. The commander frowned slightly and muttered to himself, "One look and I can tell that this lad is not someone with great luck. He just came to the heavens-splitting holy land, but he was hunted down and ambushed. He even stirred up a hornet's nest. How did this lad survive until now?" However, absorbing the god might crystal's energy like this, I'm afraid his body will explode and he will die. Lu Chun could not care less about the commander's muttering. The rumbling sounds coming from the surrounding walls were the countdown to their survival. He was already fully focused on absorbing the god might crystal. The moment he touched the god might crystal, a ferocious spirit chi surged into Lu Chen's body like a river breaking through a dam. If absorbing the god might crystal was like drinking water for Lu Chun, then this time, it was like seawater entering his mouth. It was like he was drowning. What a ferocious spirit chi. What the hell is this? Lu Chun frowned. He had never experienced such a feeling before. "Oh no, I can't hold it." Lu Chun had no choice but to enter the state of an état, to absorb the ferocious spirit chi. Seeing Lu Chen's painful expression and the rumbling sounds coming closer and closer, Little Beast and the others were restless like ants on a hot pan. Little Beast did not dare to disturb his father's cultivation. It was very dangerous to interfere with Lu Chen's absorption of spirit chi in this state. However, the situation around them was very urgent. "Little Featherball, Little Origin, we must protect our father." Little Beast clenched his fists. "We can't block so many entrances. How about this? I will set up a defensive array first. Little Origin, you stay here and protect our father. Little Featherball and I will try our best to lure the chaos beasts away." Then Little Beast cut his palm with his sword finger. Immediately, blood flowed out. He drew a large circle with his blood, surrounding Xiao Yuan and Lu Chun in the middle. Beast God's blood, mysterious beast shield of 4 gods and 8 desolates. With a buzz, a blood-red arc-shaped spirit chi shield covered Little Origin and Lu Chun. As soon as the defensive array was set up, one of the walls collapsed. A large number of chaos beasts rushed into the mine room. Guards of Earth, retreat and defend. Little Beast shouted angrily. "Little Featherball, it's up to us." Little Featherball dashed toward the crowd of chaos beasts. Taking advantage of its small size, it climbed onto a chaos beast and bit it. 16 virtual images of mythical beasts appeared behind Little Beast. Then, it released a fireball toward the crowd of chaos beasts. After attracting their attention, Little Beast spread its wings and flew toward the crowd of chaos beasts. Little Origin looked at his 2 companions anxiously. They were no match for so many chaos beasts. Now, they were acting as bait to attract the Chaos Beast's attention and stall for as much time as possible. Little Beast had the advantage of flying. Unfortunately, this was an underground mine room. The Chaos Beast climbed up the stone walls and tried to shoot down Little Beast, who was not active enough. At this moment, 2 more walls collapsed. More Chaos Beasts rushed into the mine room. All of a sudden, the spacious mine room was filled with Chaos Beasts. Damn it, there are so many of them. Little Beast flew in the air and attacked the Chaos Beasts on the ground. Wherever Little Featherball went, there was blood and angry roars. Little Featherball was in a more dangerous situation than Little Beast. He was alone in the midst of the enemies. His life was in danger at any time. Creak, creak, creak. Little Featherball saw a large number of Chaos Beasts rushing toward Big Brother's blood shield. Then he saw the biggest Chaos Beast and was about to pounce on it. Roar! The Chaos Beast roared, and the entire mine room shook. It clawed at Little Featherball with precision. This attack was very fast. Little Featherball was the one who initiated the attack, so it was difficult for him to dodge. At this critical moment, Little Featherball suddenly grew several times bigger. Even in its original form, Little Featherball was still hit by the claw. Its whole body was sent flying like a cannonball. Since Little Featherball could not dodge the attack, this Chaos Beast strength was comparable to that of a mid-level deity. Although Little Featherball had used its gigantism to increase its defense, it could not withstand this attack at its current level. Little Featherball was covered in blood and fell to the ground, motionless. Little Featherball, Little Beast was furious. Roar! The gigantic Chaos Beast opened its mouth and shot out a beam of spiritual energy. Beast God, dual polarity, heavenly fire. When the 2 attacks collided in midair, Little Beast's dual polarity, heavenly fire was destroyed. Little Beast was sent flying toward the ceiling of the mine room. Chapter 1478. In the blink of an eye, both Little Furball and Little Critter were severely injured. The leader of the Chaos Beasts roared, and a large number of Chaos Beasts pounced on Little Furball and Little Critter. Watching the Chaos Beasts pounce on Little Furball and Little Critter, Little Originator's clear eyes were filled with tears. Even so, Little Originator could not leave the defensive formation even if it had to watch the 2 beasts being torn apart. At this moment, more Chaos Beasts were approaching. Whoa! Little Originator whined. Qianji swallowed his saliva. Damn it, I'm going to die here. Luchin, wake up quickly. Aren't you always able to turn danger into safety? Hey, Nine Nether, I beg you to help us. The Grand Marshal had been standing behind the defensive formation the whole time. He narrowed his eyes slightly as he watched everything in front of him. The leader of the Chaos Beasts seemed to be a 1-star intermediate celestial. It was an insurmountable mountain for Lu Chun and the rest. Soon, the 2 beasts would be eaten by the Chaos Beasts. The Guardian of Earth and the Beast God's defensive formation would not last long. In the end, Lu Chun and the rest would be annihilated. Even if you have a Chaos spiritual core, you're lucky that you did not explode after absorbing the God's aura crystal before reaching the intermediate celestial level. Lu Chun will not be able to withstand the God's aura crystal for the time being. Life is unpredictable. He escaped the pursuit of steel armor and mountain elf, but he is going to die in the hands of the Chaos Beasts. The general shook his head and sighed. It's a pity that the 4 beasts have not grown up yet. If they were in the outer world and fully developed, they would not be afraid of the Chaos Beasts. Marshall glanced at Lu Chun, who was cultivating, and sighed. During this period of time, this kid's performance is indeed remarkable. It's a pity dozens of Chaos Beasts surrounded Little Critter and Little Furball. They bared their sharp teeth and drooled. Roar! The Chaos Beasts pounced on them mercilessly. Little Critter looked at the figure in the blood shield. The Guardian of Earth's defensive formation only lasted for a moment before it was destroyed by the Chaos Beasts. The 4 puppets fell to the side. Their limbs were scattered all over the floor. Qianji's head was rolling on the floor with a look of dissatisfaction. The 4 gods' 8 desolation shield was also in imminent danger. It was likely that it would be broken very soon. Dad, I'm sorry. We couldn't hold on. At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly sounded. Triple Gate. I'm all ears. Suddenly, an incomparably powerful force directly pulled the little beast and the little fur ball into a stone door. In the next second, the little beast and the little fur ball were already inside the four gods' 8 desolation shield. Little Beastie looked at Lu Chun in shock. Dad, you've absorbed it. Lu Chun was bleeding from his 7 orifices. He nodded. The spiritual energy of this crystal is too violent. It almost destroyed my spirit core. Fortunately, I once cultivated an Ajotian star. Using the reversal of heaven and earth with a little control, I can achieve a feat of using 4 tails to shift 1,000 caddies. It can be considered as turning danger into safety. The little fur ball and the little beast were fighting with their lives. However, Lu Chun was not having it easy either. He just walked on the edge of life and death. Lu Chun stood up and looked at the chaos beasts that were attacking the defensive formation. Finally, his gaze fell on the broken earthen guards on the floor. Without their master's control, the earthen guards' abilities were greatly reduced. However, they had contributed greatly. If they had not delayed the chaos beasts, the defensive formation would have been destroyed long ago. Triple Gate, I am all ears. Lu Chun kept the parts of the earthen guards. When Qian Ji saw Lu Chun, he was so excited that he almost teared up. You bastard, you're finally awake. I almost thought that I was going to die here. Lu Chun smiled. I said that you won't die so easily. Then you won't die here. Little Yuan, take good care of them. After saying that, Lu Chun's arms turned into demons. The limitless sword and the God Destroyer spear floated beside him. Lu Chun walked out of the defensive formation. The general's eyes widened in disbelief. No way, this guy absorbed the chaotic divine might crystal. How is this possible? How'd he do it? What kind of joke is this? I am a chaos demon god. How could I make a mistake? Wait, 5-star divine demon human emperor? He really did absorb the divine might crystal. In 5 hours, he had advanced from a 3-star human emperor to a 5-star human emperor. What kind of cultivation speed was this? When Lu Chun walked out of the defensive formation, he raised his hand and used Dark Heaven-Earth Termination. The chaos beasts that were attacking the defensive formation were instantly killed. This time, Lu Chun's group attack could instantly kill these mid-level chaos beasts. Lu Chun stood in front of the crowd of chaos beasts. Facing the black mass of chaos beasts in the mine, there was no fear in his eyes. Finally, he looked at the biggest chaos beast. Lu Chun squinted his eyes. You almost killed Little Beast and Fur Ball just now. The leader of the chaos beasts was not afraid of Lu Chun. It roared at him. Roar. Lu Chun snorted coldly. Then I'll use you to practice first. God's Descent. In an instant, Lu Chun passed through a large number of chaos beasts and arrived in front of the leader of the chaos beasts. Ordinary chaos beasts could no longer catch up to Lu Chun's speed. However, the leader of the chaos beasts was very strong. Once it saw Lu Chun, it clawed at him. Chaos beasts did not have many skills. However, it was this kind of primitive attack that did not require complicated control. It only wanted to kill its opponent in the shortest time possible. Its attack was so fast that its afterimage could not be seen. However, Lu Chun was even faster. Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon. Lu Chun used the God-slaying spear in his left hand to distract the opponent's attack. The chaos beast roared and swept its other claw over. At that moment, Lu Chun suddenly retreated a few meters to avoid the opponent's attack. Seeing Lu Chun retreat, the chaos beast was about to give chase. However, it did not expect that Lu Chun's retreat was not just to avoid the chaos beast's attack. It was more like the beginning of a move. Great Void Form, 8 Spear Shadow Spear. With a roar, Lu Chun's entire body seemed to have undergone a space jump. It was impossible to see his path clearly. In an instant, he appeared behind the Chaos Beast. The Chaos Beast attack broke through its defense. The Chaos Spirit Shield, the Chaos Beast's greatest weapon, was useless in front of Lu Chun's attack. The power of the 8 Spear Shadow Spear was twice as powerful as the seventh spear. Moreover, this move was used by a 5-star human emperor. Without a doubt, this spear pierced through the Chaos Beast's body. It was unbelievably fast. The Chaos core in the Chaos Beast's body had disappeared. It seemed to have been taken by the sky pilfering. The leader of the Chaos Beast was shocked, but more than that, it was confused. It could not even withstand 3 moves from this guy. After a while, the body of the leader of the Chaos Beasts fell to the ground. Little Beast looked at the scene in shock and muttered, "Oh my God, is Dad already so strong?" The marshal's eyes widened. "Are you kidding me? 5 hours? From being forced to flee to instantly killing his opponent. He only used 5 hours. Give Lu Chen 5 hours, and he could change the outcome." Chapter 1479. Seeing that their leader was killed, the beasts started to panic. Unfortunately, Lu Chen had no intention of letting them go. Godly skill, abyss sword, sky crystal scatter. In the mine, a ray of sword aura shot into the enemy's formation. Even the spiritual energy wave was so small that it could be ignored. However, after a short while, the ray of sword aura exploded in the middle of the enemy's formation. Countless rays of sword radiance shot out. The sword shadows instantly filled the entire space. Everywhere they passed, the Chaos Beasts were unable to fight back at all. They were all slain at the waist. This was the third style of the Abyss Sword. It could be used to attack a group or a single target. However, if one was hit by this single target attack, the explosion would explode from within the enemy's body. In the blink of an eye, the entire mine was filled with corpses. Broken limbs were everywhere, and there was a horrible stench. A few of the surviving Chaos Beasts saw this and rushed towards the entrance of the cave as if they had gone mad. Lu Chen did not chase after them. The beasts outside had many tunnels. If he continued to chase after them, he did not know when they would come to an end. Seeing that the beasts were pushed back, Little Beast and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. "Dad, you leveled up again?" Cough, cough, cough. Little Beast was so excited that it pulled at its wound and coughed out blood. Lu Chen hurried over. "Little Beast, little furball, are you okay?" Little Beast forced a smile. "Dad, don't worry. We won't die." Lu Chen heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately asked Little Green to heal them. There were remains of the earth puppet on the ground. It was a mess. He did not know if there were any parts missing. Luckily, Qianji's head was still there. Lu Chen picked up Qianji's head and thought for a while. "Looks like I have to ask my friend from Netherworld to see if he can fix it." The marshal frowned. Lu Chen, this kid, survived again. When they were killing the leader, both of them were fighting in close combat. In an instant, they had exchanged 3 blows. Although it was only 3 moves, the marshal could tell that Lu Chen was very good at fighting. As the saying goes, when 2 enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous one wins. Lu Chen was calm and confident in the 2 seconds they exchanged blows. His mental fortitude was outstanding. Using the spirit roaming dragon twice to capture the opponent's attack in an extremely short period of time was also a wonderful part of the battle. The most exquisite part was the last move, the rapid shadow spear. Retreating in order to advance, hiding one's offense within one's defense, was extremely confusing. He does have some skills. The marshal couldn't help but sigh. However, his knowledge is still a little lacking. With that, Marshal walked to Lu Chen's side. "This is a divine might crystal, a top-grade divine might stone. It's also the core of a divine might stone mine. A dark gold mine can only produce 1 piece at most. The smaller Shun Wei mines might not even be able to form. The spiritual energy contained in this crystal is already 1/5 of all the god might stones in the entire mine." Lu Chen's eyes widened. Such a small piece of God's might stone crystal actually gathered so much spiritual energy. "Senior, doesn't that mean that there aren't a lot of God might stones in this mine?" The marshal rolled his eyes at Lu Chen. "You brat, don't be greedy. The divine might stone isn't the nether gold mine. This is already considered a relatively concentrated area. Otherwise, there wouldn't be divine might crystals. You rose 2 stars in 5 hours. Who can have such cultivation speed? You've risen from a 5-star lower deity to a 1-star intermediate deity. It's also fortunate that you have a rare chaos spirit core. Otherwise, refining a small piece of God might stone would take decades. Lu Chun didn't listen to Marshall's words at all. He continued to ponder. If I absorb the rest of the God might stones, won't I be able to rise another star? Marshall thought about it. Lu Chun wasn't considered greedy. If he were Lu Chun, he definitely wouldn't let go of such an opportunity. Little Yuan, Rhubarb, you two tidy up the chaos core here first. Little Green, you take care of Little Beast and Little Furball. Little Yuan and Rhubarb began to get busy. Lying on the ground, Little Beast was not well behaved. It said to Lu Chun, "Dad, why didn't Tai Jia and Mandrill react to such a loud noise just now?" Lu Chun thought about it and said, "I reckon that they haven't fully recovered from their injuries. Besides, they probably don't think that the noise just now was caused by me. After all, it's only been 6 hours since I was seriously injured by him." Little Beast thought about it and found that it made sense. "You two rest well. I also need to recuperate. Don't worry, I'll settle the score with them." Little Beast was no longer worried after hearing that his dad had considered everything. It began to rest well. 3 hours later, Little Beast's injuries had improved a little. Little Furball, on the other hand, recovered extremely quickly. It was full of energy again in a short time. Lu Chun opened his eyes and said, "It's almost time. You two come back first. Little Furball, follow me and help me dig back." This mine was different from the one that Lu Chun had escaped from. There was no passage for chaos beasts, so Little Furball had to dig a tunnel. "Dad, are you going back to look for Tai Jia and Mandrill?" Lu Chun nodded and said, "It's time to get back at them." In the heavenly shrine, a young man was sitting on the chairman's seat, looking angrily at his subordinates who were standing with their heads lowered. "You said that there are experts around solipsistic? What experts?" The young man said disapprovingly, supporting his chin with his hand. Then, he said in a panic, "Sir White Shirt, it's true. Those two people are like solipsistic's bodyguards. They go wherever Lu Chun goes. And their cultivation levels are extremely high. Not only us, but the other teams have also seen them." Displeased, White Shirt said, "Could they be superior gods?" "I don't think so." The subordinate recalled and said, "Sir White Shirt, I think he's stronger than a superior god." White Shirt snorted and said, "Stronger than a superior god? Could he be a master god? What a joke. There are only a few master gods. Could it be that you don't know any of them?" The subordinate didn't know how to explain and stood there hesitantly. After thinking for a while, the young man said, "Even if he's not a master god, he's still strong enough to help solipsistic block all the pursuers. But why are there 2 more experts around that kid? I've never heard of them before. This Lu Chun, how many trump cards does he have? Show them." "Forget it. The super experts in our shrine are preparing for this outer space exploration. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can't afford to lose it. Let that kid live for a few more days. Also, you must find out the identities of those 2 people." "Yes, Sir White Shirt." The subordinate hurriedly left, and White Shirt fell in a deep thought. "Lu Chun, oh Lu Chun, you're really lucky. You didn't even die. Sigh, if the higher-ups ask, I'll have to explain. How troublesome." Right at this moment, another subordinate came to report. "Sir White Shirt, something has happened to the new mine that appeared in the heaven-splitting Holy Land." What's going on?" Roughly 200 teams were fighting the Chaos Beast Tide underground. After defeating the Chaos Beast Tide, they inadvertently discovered the main mine. Chapter 1480. What? The main mine? Bai Yi's eyes widened as he stood up. "You're saying that the original discovery of the new mine was just a branch?" "That's right, my lord." Bai Yi immediately paced back and forth excitedly. A main mine represented a large amount of wealth. The subordinate continued. However, they discovered that there was a group of people harvesting in the main mine. This person explained Tai Jia's situation to Bai Yi in detail. According to Ironclad, they discovered that Lone Tyrant's team was acting suspiciously. Hence, they decided to follow Lone Tyrant. In the end, They discovered that Lone Tyrant had intentionally alarmed the Chaos Beasts in order to kill all of the teams exploring the underground region. When they encountered Solipsistic, they even killed 4 of his teammates. Originally, he wanted to kill them, but Tai Jia and Mountain Elf were not weak. They almost killed Solipsistic, but he was lucky enough to escape. Solipsistic abandoned his teammates, and now his whereabouts are unknown. Bai Yi frowned. There's such a thing? Didn't Solipsistic have 2 experts by his side? What's the level of that Tai Jia? 1-star intermediate god. He said that he did not see the 2 experts. There were only a few undead who were already under their control. Bai Yi pondered carefully. Although Tai Jia's words were doubtful, the current situation was advantageous to him. Not only had the 8th heaven discovered a new large mine, but the experts by Solipsistic's side had also left, and he had become the target of public criticism. Who knew how many people would want to take revenge on him? Ha! The heavens are really helping me. What's the situation in the mine now? The subordinate replied. The exploration teams, they're all clamoring to kill Solipsistic. They have already split up to search for his whereabouts. Bai narrowed his eyes slightly. Very good. Solipsistic has already become the public enemy. Whoever can kill him will have done a great service. They can even get an extra 10% of the mine distribution. Immediately form a team of intermediate gods and find that guy. Once you find him, kill him on the spot. As long as he dies, the earth will be swallowed by the Jiutian, and then we can go there. After the subordinate received the order, he didn't leave immediately. Anything else? Sir, there's something I don't understand. That person said, is that treasure really on the Solipsistic planet? What I mean is, isn't Earth a technological world of the human race? Why is that treasure in the human race's world, and in such a technological world? Bai Yi's face darkened. What you need to do is to follow my instructions. Knowing too much won't do you any good. The subordinate was so frightened that he took half a step back and hurriedly cupped his fists. It was a slip of the tongue. My lord, please don't be angry. I will lead my men to kill Solipsistic. After his subordinate left, Bai Yi arrived at his dormitory in a flash. He opened an exquisite multifaceted shadow stone, and a cloud of white mist was projected from the shadow stone. Master, Solipsistic planet was framed by iron armor, and now he has become a public enemy. A low voice came from the other side. I didn't expect that Solipsistic planet would end up like this. How interesting. Master, is there any news from Earth? Bai Yi asked again, did our men sneak in? After the war of the 10,000 races, Earth let down their guard. With the many marriages, people have already entered Earth and are looking for that thing. Bai Yi was overjoyed. As long as we find that thing, does it mean that we can complete the life-reversing legendary set? That's why I said earlier that there's no need to kill Solipsistic planet in the first few heavens. If he wants to find the life-reversing legendary set, let him find it. At most, he will help us complete the life-reversing set. If it were someone else, they wouldn't be able to find so many sets. White Robe laughed. Master, you are truly wise. Compared to you, the other 7 overgods are truly short-sighted individuals. They are thinking that the life-reversing legendary set can't appear, but you are thinking that we can snatch the life-reversing legendary set when Solipsistic planet is complete. Don't underestimate anyone. The voice in the white mist was slightly serious. How can anyone who can cultivate to the supreme god level be ordinary? Yes, master. Bai Yi is stupid. The voice in the white mist continued. Solipsistic planet still has a soul of the divine demon and the 9 transformation of the 9 transformations of the divine demon. We still have some time. In comparison, the 8 supreme gods are opening the passage to the outer heavens, and all the experts are coming out. It's very important. This matter is more important. Keep an eye on Solipsistic planet. If you can kill him, kill him. If you can't, don't let others kill him. You will handle this matter personally. Master, don't worry. Bai Yi will not let you down. Liu Chan was about to look for the armored mandrill when he suddenly heard rumbling sounds coming from the wall behind him. No way. More chaos beasts? The commander smiled and said meaningfully, maybe not. Liu Chan was stunned for a moment. Did the commander mean that the armored mandrill and the mandrill were coming for him? No. Judging from the sounds, the other side was digging into the wall, and the attacks were quite chaotic. There seems to be a lot of people. Lu Chan was confused for a moment. What was going on? Something is wrong. Lu Chan thought for a moment and called back his battle pet and Little Green. Senior 9 Nether, let's hide and observe the situation. Don't expose ourselves. With that, Lu Chan directly went out through the entrance that the Chaos Beast had opened up. He didn't go far. Using the Chaos Beast bodies as cover, he quietly observed. Not long after, the stone wall was penetrated. Hundreds of people rushed out of the tunnel. They rushed into the mining room and were stunned by the scene in front of them. Why are there so many Chaos Beast bodies here? How many Chaos Beasts are there? There's even a Chaos Beast leader. Look, there are traces of mining here. Who is mining here? The armored mandrill and the mandrill's expressions were ugly. They looked at each other and whispered to each other. That guy is hiding 400 meters away from us. Impossible. He can't kill so many Chaos Beasts. That's strange. From the traces of mining, it should have just been done. But other than us, who else has found this place? Be careful. This is getting more and more complicated. Someone shouted from the side. Everyone look. There are a few exits over there. Many of them were just dug out by the Chaos Beasts. So many Chaos Beasts have died here. The Chaos Beasts won't dare to stay here. Let's follow the tunnel. Lu Chan had already escaped through the tunnel. When he was in the crowd, he saw the armored mandrill and the mandrill with 5 skeletons. They followed behind the armored mandrill and didn't say a word. Senior, how did you and Senior Pangu become skeletons? Lu Chan asked curiously. The marshal smiled. We couldn't run or fight. We could only mix in with your friends. Speaking of which, Pangu's skeleton is the ugliest. Lu Chan narrowed his eyes. The armor mandrill is actually with those people. It seems like he's framing me. But why didn't Netherworld and the rest explain? If they told the truth, these people might not believe the armored mandrill completely. The marshal laughed coldly. Netherworld and the rest's life bones are in the armored mandrill's hands. Also, look at how stunned they are. It's obvious that they've been cursed. If you want to save your friends, you'd better hurry. Otherwise, once the armored mandrill and the rest escape, your friends will be useless to him. They'll definitely die. Chapter 1481. A few hundred people were chasing after Lu Chan, but Lu Chan did not panic at all. The tunnels of the Chaos Beasts extended in all directions, all around the mines. Lu Chan stood in front of a fork in the road, holding his chin as if he was thinking about something. Other people run in a panic. Why aren't you nervous at all? The general followed behind Lu Chan, watching with interest as Lu Chan took his time choosing his route. Lu Chan said, maybe I'm used to it. Lu Chan was definitely experienced in being wanted and being hunted down. His mental fortitude was very strong. These tunnels are complicated and there are many forks in the road. There won't be many people chasing after me. It won't be a big deal even if we meet them, Lu Chan said calmly. However, I'm afraid that once I expose my strength, Iron Armor and Mountain Elf will take the opportunity to escape. After thinking for a while, Lu Chan summoned his Buddha body and 6 demon bodies. They split up and escaped through different tunnels. Not long after, a few small teams arrived. Looking at the fork in the road, they felt a headache coming on. There's another fork in the road. The road ahead is unclear, and our movement skills are limited. Should we continue chasing? We'll be in trouble if we meet another group of Chaos Beasts. Chase. A middle-aged heavenly demon man gritted his teeth and said, he'll be the first to meet us. That guy was injured by Iron Armor and the others. He won't be able to run far. That's right. The guy plotted against me. He made me fight the Chaos Beast for a few hours and used up a lot of pills. Yet, he's here collecting resources. I won't be able to calm down if I don't kill him. There's spirit chi in these tunnels. He must have used his doppelgangers to confuse us. Everyone split up and chase. Everyone split up and chased after Lu Chan. About 10 minutes later, a small team saw a figure standing in front of them. That person did not run. He just stood there, as if waiting for them. Could it be? Solipsistic? Lu Chun said calmly. That's right. It's me. Great. The heavenly demon man's eyes narrowed. His eyes were filled with anger. We've been chasing you so hard. Now you know that it's useless to run? Lu Chen's expression did not change as he calmly said, You guys were fooled by Tai Jia, and you didn't even know? Iron Armor and the others came up from the branch vein previously. Isn't he the one most likely to attract the Chaos Beasts? Only 6 of their team of 8 came out. What does that mean? In order to attract the Chaos Beasts, 2 of them have already died underground. There's an earth-trapping formation here, but I don't know any earth-trapping formation at all. It's to prevent you from discovering the location of the main vein, and to prevent me from escaping and telling you the truth. The heavenly demon said angrily, Iron Armor told us not to enter the branch before. If this was really his plan, why would he say something like that? Lu Chen sneered. He just understands you. The more he doesn't let you go down, the more you think there are resources down there. Besides, even if you don't go to the side vein, he will still come to the main vein to mine. He won't lose anything. The heavenly demon was stunned. What Lu Chen said seemed to make some sense. However, another lower god shouted angrily, Solipsistic, don't make irresponsible remarks here. 5 of your teammates have personally confirmed Iron Armor's words. You, on the other hand, are just saying it without any evidence. Lu Chen shook his head. You've been here for so long. Have you ever seen the undead in their true forms? It was not hard to tell from the bone demon's behavior that the undead did not like their original forms. Many of the undead had evolved from the tens of thousands of Deathsworn. This was an image that other races found difficult to accept. Therefore, the undead rarely showed their true forms. And when you saw my friends, they were all in their true forms. It's obvious that they were already under the control of the Iron Armor Mandrill. At this point, Lu Chen's tone was slightly agitated. He had to settle this score with the Iron Armor Mandrill. The heavenly demon's ability should be that of a middle god. He was also the leader of this team. Other than being extremely angry at the beginning, he had not said a word since. Lu Chen glanced at the heavenly demon. At least this guy had not been blinded by anger. Everyone, it doesn't matter if you kill the wrong person. However, if you kill me, the person who really made you run in circles will probably laugh at you for being a bunch of idiots. What did you say? A lower god said angrily. At this moment, the heavenly demon grabbed him. He looked at Lu Chen and narrowed his eyes slightly, as if trying to find some clues from Lu Chen's expression. Unfortunately, Lu Chen's expression remained indifferent. Solipsistic, if that's the case, why don't you dare to confront us? Instead, you're running away? Lu Chen said. How could Iron Armor give me a chance to say anything? He's already stirred up your emotions. Many people can't wait to tear me apart when they see me. Then why are you telling us this? Lu Chen smiled slightly. I just don't think there's a need to kill you. Kill us? With just you? Lu Chen's smile remained. If you don't believe me, you can try. However, I have 2 conditions. The heavenly demon stared fixedly at Lu Chen, not understanding what this guy wanted to do. What conditions? First, have your people set up a formation to prevent our battle from attracting other teams. Second, I'll spar with you. If you lose, you have to bring me to the Iron Armor Mandrill. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Find them? What do you want to do? Lu Chen snorted coldly. I want them to pay back what they did to my friends 100-fold. The heavenly demon was shocked. This guy wants to take revenge. Incubus, don't fall for that guy's trick. His teammate reminded the heavenly demon. This guy's full of tricks. Let's take him down first, and then send him back for a confrontation. The incubus looked at Lu Chen and realized that he was looking at him, patiently waiting for his reply. He pondered for a moment and said, If he can defeat me, it means that he has the ability to kill our team. It also confirms what he said. Then, what he said before will be more credible. Moreover, I don't believe that he can defeat me. Sky Bamboo, set up the formation. These exploration teams were all hunting chaos beasts. Every team had to have someone who knew how to set up a formation to isolate them from battle. Soon, the formation was set up. The incubus walked in front of Lu Chen. Solipsistic, The iron armor said that they severely injured you, but you said that you can fight me. I want to see which one of you is lying. Lu Chan smiled slightly. They didn't lie about that. They did severely injure me, but that was a few hours ago. After saying that, the two of them activated their skills at the same time. The incubus took out 1,000 trickery ruler, while Lu Chun used the void god-destroying spear to fight. The incubus fighting spirit burned in his eyes. He immediately attacked. Divine technique, sky-measuring ruler, immensity of heaven and earth. The tunnel was only 7 to 8 meters high and 4 to 5 meters wide. The moment the incubus attacked, it was a full-screen attack. A golden spirit chi covered the entire tunnel and swept toward Lu Chun. Lu Chun snorted. Using a group attack here? Are you looking down on me? Or have you forgotten how to fight after killing so many chaos beasts? Great void form, 8 spear shadow spear. Chapter 1482. Even if it was a single target attack, the Spear of Rapid Shadows was still a powerful move. After clashing with the other party's group attack, it broke through the other party's attack and headed straight for the King of Nightmares. The King of Nightmares snorted. Solipsistic is only SOSO. Do you really think I don't know how to fight? King of Nightmares. With the help of the group attack, just now, the King of Nightmares had already filled the passageway with spiritual energy that he could control. After the King of Nightmares was activated, Lu Chin's surroundings suddenly changed. He was suddenly in the wilderness, and even the target of the Spear of Rapid Shadows was lost. In an instant, the god-slaying spear was already pointed at the King of Nightmares' forehead. Although Lu Chun had retracted his god-slaying spear, the force of the spear was still there. A surge of spiritual energy slammed into the King of Nightmares' head. The King of Nightmares was instantly sent flying and smashed through a 30-meter wall. When the King of Nightmares' teammates saw this, they were stunned. He defeated the King of Nightmares with one move? The King of Nightmares is one of the best among one-star intermediate gods. How did the solipsistic see through the dreamscape? What is going on? Someone helped the King of Nightmares out of the hole. The King of Nightmares' injuries were not serious, but he did not have time to care about his injuries. Instead, he looked at Lu Chin in fear. You, how did you break through my King of Nightmares? Lu Chin kept his spear and smiled. People of level 8 don't like to reveal their titles. Your title is King of Nightmares, so your skills should be related to the dreamscape. However, it's a pity that I have the divine demon observation eye and can use spiritual energy to lock onto you. As long as you realize that you are in a dreamscape and keep your mind clear, your dreamscape is nothing to be afraid of. You guys had a great battle with the beasts of chaos and were exhausted. You're no match for me now. The King of Nightmares' eyes widened. This guy's mind was too clear. Your abilities have reached the level of an intermediate god. More or less, Lu Chun said calmly. Now, can you fulfill your promise? King of Nightmares took a deep breath. With solipsistic strength, wiping out their entire team was a piece of cake. After thinking for a moment, the King of Nightmares sighed. You have the strength to kill us, but you didn't do so. Now, even if you can't produce any evidence, I believe that everything you said is true. Since it was Tai Jia and the others who set us up, we must settle this debt with them. Come with us. Marshall walked out from the corner behind Lu Chun. Lu Chun asked Marshall to follow him. Nightmare and the others didn't say anything. After all, a loss was a loss. If the other party brought an extra person, it would only mean that his chances of winning were higher. The general watched Lu Chun plan step by step with his own eyes. He became more and more interested in Lu Chun. At first, I thought you would kill them directly, the marshal said to Lu Chun. Lu Chun shook his head. I have no enmity with them. Why would I kill them? Marshall snorted arrogantly. If it was me back then, these people would have been killed if they dared to chase after me. Lu Chun was speechless. Nine Nether was indeed not a kind person. Senior Marshal, you are you, and I am me. From the first heaven to the 8th heaven, I have seen too many people. Good and evil are not absolute. Right and wrong may be due to different standpoints. The battle between the 10,000 races may be a disaster to you, but to others, it may also be a battle for survival. Sigh, in short, those who don't deserve to die, I don't want to kill them all. You are still too kind. If you were a little more ruthless, I would. Marshall said. Luchin smiled. Senior, why did you stop halfway? If I were a little more ruthless, what would you do? Nothing. Marshall shook his head as if he was trying to get rid of the thought that flashed through his mind. The incubus came over to talk with Lu Chun, and Marshall retreated to the side. Looking at Lu Chin's back, Marshall felt an itch in his heart. It was a pity that although this kid was a little bad, he was not bad enough. He was not vicious enough, not unscrupulous enough. A general success was built on the bones of 10,000 people. The winner was the king, and the loser was the bandit. As long as one could reach the peak, one had to be unscrupulous. If one placed too much importance on friendship, it would ultimately be too pedantic, and it would trip him up. Sigh, if this kid could be like me, with his aptitude, and taken a disciple, forget it, a benevolent person will never achieve great things. Luchin also did not know what Nine Nether was thinking behind him. He was currently explaining some details to the incubus. The incubus listened very carefully. He compared all the details in his mind and realized that all the details were logical. Although Lu Chun did not have any evidence, the incubus was already convinced that Lu Chun was telling the truth. This iron armor is really good at scheming. Despicable to the extreme. The incubus clenched his teeth and said, so many of us were actually fooled by him. It's really shameful. Lu Chun smiled and said, as the saying goes, those involved are confused while those on the sidelines see more clearly. Iron armor and the others can be considered troublesome opponents. Senior Incubus knows too little, so it's hard to avoid being deceived. Lone Tyrant, I've already lost to you. I don't dare to call myself senior, but if necessary, I can join forces with you to deal with Iron Armor and Mountain Elf. Lu Chan suddenly asked, Senior Incubus, is there any way to force the undead to reveal their true form? The Incubus thought for a moment and said, now that you mention it, I think of a way. The undead's true form is in the form of white bones, but they also have weaknesses. There are several pieces of white bones that are their life gate, and they're called life bones. The undead have 3 to 5 life bones. If they were in the hands of others, not only would they lose their ability to transform, but you can imagine what would happen if your heart, or even your spirit core, were in the hands of others. The Incubus finished speaking and looked at Lu Chun. However, you said that your teammates were being controlled, but among your teammates, there were 4 who were in a depressed state and remained silent. However, there was one who was particularly active. Lu Chun was stunned. Yes, there was one who was particularly good at talking. Whatever Iron Armor said, he would agree. When he talked about your crimes, he would be extremely animated. Lu Chun hadn't seen Iron Armor deceive everyone, so he naturally didn't know about such a thing. Someone betrayed him? Netherworld? Withered Claw? Or Bone Demon? It didn't seem like it. Could it be De Zhuang? Under such circumstances, the only one who could still be so energetic was De Zhuang. What was Panga doing? Not only was he not helping, he was even causing trouble. That person's brain isn't too good. Lu Chan was a little embarrassed and quickly changed the topic. Brother Incubus, how are you going to find Iron Armor and the others? Don't let them take the opportunity to escape. They won't be able to escape. Incubus said, one of my intermediate gods is with them. I've already sent a message, so we'll catch up to them soon. When the time comes, I only hope that Brother Lone Tyrant won't kill those 2 and leave us with a single breath. Incubus's eyes were filled with killing intent. I will definitely make them pay the price. Chapter 1483. Steel Armor and Mountain Elf were following several teams in their pursuit of Lu Chun. Suddenly, the leading intermediate god raised his hand and stopped the team. Everyone, I've received news that the King of Nightmares has captured Solipsistic. He's in a mine room where we were before. Let's go back now. Steel Armor and Mountain Elf exchanged glances. Had they caught him? That brat had finally fallen into their hands. All the teams received the news one after another. Solipsistic had been captured. Everyone hurried back. If they missed the chance to kill Solipsistic, the resentment in their hearts would be accumulated for a long time. About 20 minutes later, nearly 200 teams had returned to the mine room. At this moment, Lu Chun and the marshal were surrounded by a group of people. I almost died in the midst of the beasts of chaos. Let me kill him, pull out his tendons, and skin him alive. Otherwise, it'll be hard to appease the hatred in my heart. The King of Nightmares stood beside Lu Chun. His gaze was searching until he saw Steel Armor and Mountain Elf. Steel Armor, Mountain Elf, you're finally back. Steel Armor walked up and sized up Lu Chun. He looked at him with a faint smile. Brat, do you think you can escape from my grasp? You've been running for so many days, but you were still caught. Mountain Elf sneered. You were lucky to escape last time. This time, let's see how you escape. Everyone quiet down. The King of Nightmares suddenly said, everyone knows that the teams that often come to the Holy Land basically have their own fixed teammates. After so many years, the teamwork between teammates has been very good. Steel Armor and Mountain Elf's 4 teammates were all killed by Solipsistic's team. Therefore, if we want to kill Solipsistic, they'll definitely be the first. Many people expressed their agreement. That's right. If not for Steel Armor and Mountain Elf, we would still be in the dark. The death of 4 teammates is also a great loss. They've made a great contribution by chasing Solipsistic here. If we want to kill Solipsistic, they're more qualified than us. Everything else aside, if they can help us catch the dire beasts, I'm willing to do this favor. Tai Jia smiled. Things went unexpectedly smoothly. Tai Jia and Mandrill cupped their fists and said, thank you for your kind intentions. It would be impolite of us to refuse. They had absolute confidence in Lu Chun. The two of them walked up to Lu Chun and smiled coldly. Solipsistic, thank you so much. Lu Chun sneered. What's there to be happy about? Now that the main vein has been discovered, you can no longer monopolize it. What are you talking about? Even now, the guilty party still wants to complain? You're the ones who want to take all the resources here for yourselves. You even attracted so many chaos beasts. You almost got everyone killed. Lu Chun pursed his lips. As expected, it was impossible for these 2 people to make him tell the truth. I've seen despicable people before, but I've never seen people as despicable as you 2. Lu Chun snorted coldly. Solipsistic, I'll slit your throat first, so that you can't make up any more nonsense. Lu Chun said coldly. Then I'll fight it out with you. Everyone opened up the space. In an underground mine room filled with green nether gold crystals, Lu Chun, Tai Jia, and Mandrill stood facing each other. Tai Jia snorted. You were lucky to escape before. Unfortunately, we've recovered our strength now. It's impossible for you to escape now. Lu Chun said calmly. I don't plan to escape. Didn't you say that the 2 of you injured me? I'd like to see if you have the strength to do so. Who's the one making up nonsense? At this moment, Lu Chun was very clear about one thing. He had purposely directed this show because Tai Jia and Mandrill might have Bone Demon and the rest life bones. Therefore, he had to hit them with one blow and not give them any chance to destroy Bone Demon and the rest. Because of this, he had purposely shown weakness, and now it was the final chance to decide the victor. Tai Jia and Mandrill did not waste any more words. Leaving Lu Chun alive would only cause more trouble. They immediately used their killing moves. Divine Skill, Thick Earth Thin Burial. Divine Skill, Wild Destruction Blade. Solipsistic, have a taste of our skills at full strength. Tai Jia roared angrily. At this moment, a shocking wave of spiritual energy erupted from Lu Chun's body. His Pisces robe and his white hair fluttered violently. Lu Chun's eyes were filled with killing intent. You 2 scum want to kill me? It's still early. Divine Skill, Virtual Form, Demon Abyss Sword. Lu Chun also used one of his strongest moves, stabbing his sword at his opponent at the same time. The spiritual energy of the 3 supreme experts of the god level instantly collided. In the mine room, the crystals were uprooted. Even a lower god could not withstand the aftermath of this attack. This Solipsistic, didn't he just participate in the battle of the gods? Didn't they say that his strength is only at the level of a 5-star lower god. Water life? The three experts collided in midair. The huge spiritual energy ball held on for a while before exploding. Rubble fell from the ground, and the ground shook. With a huge bang, a burst of air instantly filled the entire place. Mandrill looked in horror at the small hole in his chest, his eyes full of astonishment. This guy withstood the killing moves of 2 intermediate gods? Through the small hole in his chest, one could see that there was a solid icicle in Mandrill's body. The lava was devouring his internal organs, bones, and flesh. How is this possible? My shield can't withstand your attack? Mandrill was shocked. Suddenly, Mandrill's body exploded from the inside. Countless silver sword auras, like a time bomb in Mandrill's body, exploded instantly. In an instant, Mandrill's body was so badly damaged that it could not be recognized. Seeing this scene, the surrounding spectators were dumbfounded. Didn't they say that when the two of them joined forces, they seriously injured Solipsistic? But from the looks of it, how could they seriously injure Solipsistic? Wait, what level is Solipsistic? Previously, I heard that he was a 3-star human emperor and his strength was comparable to a 5-star lower god. But now, he killed Mandrill in an instant. This guy's strength is unfathomable. Liu Chen's movements were so fast that even iron armor could not react in time. Liu Chen turned around and used the 8-spear shadow spear. His figure suddenly disappeared from the spot and appeared in front of iron armor in the next second. Reinforced iron bones. Iron armor shouted angrily. How is this possible? Solipsistic, how can you be so strong? The 8-spear shadow spear blasted against the iron wall, and the two of them were pushed out by a huge force at the same time. However, before Liu Chen could stabilize himself, Liu Chen's figure shot toward iron armor again. The life bones of Netherworld and the others were in Liu Chen's hands. At this time, iron armor could not be given any time to think. Once he figured out that he was no longer Liu Chen's opponent, he might just fight to the death. He had to kill iron armor quickly, and it had to be an instant kill. Iron armor was just a titled iron armor, and he was good at defense. Liu Chen wanted to kill him with one strike, so he was under a lot of pressure. Earth Fire Blessing. Triple Door. Liu Chen's sword fingers brushed the ultimate sword and shouted angrily. Celestial Demon Astral Form. Virtual Form. Spear of Heaven and Earth. How dare you touch my friends? Go to hell. The spiritual energy in the ore was tumbling. Liu Chen stabbed with his sword, and the dome collapsed. Chapter 1484. The mountain elf had died tragically. The earth demon trapping array had lost its effect, and Liu Chen's spear had activated the power of heaven and earth, piercing through the earth. Iron armor's defense was astonishing, but when faced with the spear of heaven and earth, his shield was destroyed. The spiritual energy in the mine shook, and the earth trembled. 8-spear shadow spear. Liu Chen's attack was smooth, piercing straight at iron armor. Stop! A mid-level celestial was about to attack, but Nightmare suddenly attacked, the 1,000-trick ruler deflecting the opponent's attack. Nightmare, what are you doing? Are you going to watch as the Solipsistic kills iron armor? Nightmare sneered. Guanghan, we were all fooled by iron armor. The one who fooled us was not the Solipsistic, but iron armor. What? Nightmare said in a low voice. If I'm not wrong, iron armor has the life bones of those undead. After being stopped by Nightmare, Guanghan did not know whether to continue attacking. But at this moment, Liu Chen's spear had already sunk halfway into iron armor's body. Iron armor looked at the spear in his body in horror, then looked at Liu Chen, his eyes filled with disbelief. This is impossible. How can I kill you? Liu Chen sneered. To be honest, your brain works quite fast, but it's a pity you used it in the wrong place, provoking me. Consider yourself unlucky. Brother Nightmare. Liu Chen turned around and shouted. Nightmare nodded, and the 1,000-trick ruler released a hazy, spiritual energy. Iron armor was already heavily injured and could not resist at all. He was hit directly. It's dream visualization. No. Soon, Iron Armor seemed to have changed into a different person, expressionless. King of Nightmares walked in front of Iron Armor and looked at everyone present. These people had yet to recover from their shock. "Everyone, don't be in a daze," Nightmare said loudly. "Iron Armor has been hit by my dream visualization. Next, it's time to find out the truth. Tai Jia, tell me exactly what happened. Don't leave out a single word." Iron Armor's tone was steady as he said, "My team found a passage to the main vein in the side vein. Under the dreamscape visualization, Iron Armor told Lin Yun everything that had happened. This included how they had plotted to frame everyone, how they had purposely not tried to save two of their teammates who had been trapped by the Chaos Beasts in the subsidiary vein, and how they had come to the main mine and killed four of their teammates. In the end, they had been discovered by everyone, and how they had framed Solipsistic. This series of events simply left everyone dumbstruck. This metal armor is truly a mercenary. This kind of scum, it's really bad luck to team up with him. I think if it weren't for the fact that the mandrill was still of use to him, he would probably be dead by now. I've met Tai Jia before, but I didn't expect him to be such a sinister and vicious person. I didn't expect him to become like this in the face of benefits." When they talked about Lu Chun, Ironhide actually became a little excited. "I really didn't expect that Solipsistic to be cultivating right next to our mine. If I had known earlier, I would have chased after him and killed him to prevent future troubles. But now these idiots have been blinded by anger. They probably want to kill Solipsistic more than I do." Under the dreamscape visualization, Iron Armor had already explained everything in detail. At this moment, the truth was finally revealed. Nightmare Lord said coldly, "Hand over the undead race's life bones." Iron Armor took out 9 white bones. "Why are there only 9? Nightmare Lord questioned. "Those 3 were too stubborn and refused to submit. I destroyed 2 of their life bones each, then used their last life bone to threaten them, and used goo worms to control them. Only then did they become obedient. 2 of them were very cooperative from the start. All 3 of their life bones are in my hands." Luchin narrowed his eyes. Nether, Withered Claw, and Bone Wraith, 2 of the 3 life bones were destroyed. Thinking of this, a long sword appeared in Lu Chen's hand. He raised his hand and chopped off Tai Jia's head. "Brother Du Quang," Nightmare Lord looked at Lu Chen. "Don't be anxious. Let's heal your friend first. I'll accompany you." Lu Chen took the white bones and walked towards Nether and the rest. "Brother Nightmare, how should I return the life bones of these 3 people?" "Let me do it." Nightmare Lord placed the 3 bones into the abdomen of Nether and the rest. The bones floated in the abdomen for a moment before finding their place and reconnecting with the skeleton. "I'll take out the goo worms for you," Nightmare Lord said as he pressed his sword finger on the 3 skeletons. A moment later, 3 black beetles crawled out of the bones, and the Nightmare Thousand Manipulation Ruler crushed the 3 goo worms to death. Nether, Withered Claw, and Bone Wraith finally regained consciousness. When they saw Lu Chun, their deep eye sockets shone with green light. "Du Quang," Lu Chun frowned and said solemnly, "I came late and made you suffer. Your life bones? Sigh, this is nothing." Nether's skeleton claw rested on Lu Chen's shoulder. "Don't I still have one? We knew that you would come back to save us. We didn't misjudge you." "Brother Quang, don't look at me like this. You definitely won't like it. It's all over now." Withered Claw laughed. "Bone Wraith, you're still thinking about your image. It's good enough that you're still alive. Right, where are Ironhide and Mountain Elf, those 2 bastards?" Lu Chen looked behind him. "If you want to take revenge, do it while it's still not too late." "Brother Nightmare, I'll have to trouble you to remove the Dream Heart visualization and let him know that he's not dreaming." Nightmare Lord nodded and said with a smile, "The 3 of you, if you want to take revenge, hurry up. Do you see that there are so many people around waiting to make their move? I reckon that this guy won't be able to die, even if he wants to." The 3 of them were filled with anger. Now that they could finally vent it, they ran over to find trouble with Ironhide. Lu Chun cupped his fists towards Nightmare Lord. "Thank you, Brother Nightmare." Nightmare Lord waved his hand. "It's just a small matter. Don't mention it. On the other hand, You helped us find the real culprit. We should be the ones thanking you. Right? Aren't you going to return the life bones of your two teammates to them? Nightmare Lord looked at Lu Chun strangely. Lu Chun glanced at the remaining two skeletons. He walked in front of Zhuang and raised the 3 bones. Senior, these are your life bones. De Zhuang was strangely silent. With a few cracking sounds, Lu Chun crushed them all. I won't return them to you even if I crush them. De Zhuang was a little guilty. Cough, cough, that's not my life bone. I'm not from the undead race. However, you're too much, kid. In any case, they were taken from my body. How could you destroy them just like that? Oh, Senior treasures these bones so much. Speaking of which, I heard that some people were willing to give false testimony and were surprisingly cooperative with Iron Armor and the others. It's fine if you don't help me, but you're actually so enthusiastic about helping others? De Zhuang coughed a few times, cough, cough, that sigh you have to understand. At that time, we were also in the hands of others. As hostages, we had to cooperate with the other party's demands. Lu Chun shook his head with a smile. Pengu, this guy was also old and frivolous. On the other side, Iron Armor was being treated horribly. He had offended so many people at once. Even if Lu Chun didn't do anything, he wouldn't have a good ending. Nightmare Lord also vented his anger, then walked to Lu Chen's side. Solipsistic, we all agree that you've discovered the main vein and can mine it for a day. After that, people from the 8 factions should come to discuss the division of the vein. Since the vein had been exposed, Lu Chun couldn't take it all for himself. Lu Chun thought for a moment, then suddenly said, Brother Nightmare, if you all join my team, can you also mine with me? This. Nightmare Lord was stunned. Brother Lone Tyrant, no matter how little you can mine, if it's just you alone, your harvest won't be small. If we all come, won't we have to share your harvest? Lu Chun smiled. How about this? As long as you give me enough chaotic heavenly might stone, you can join my team. So what do you all think? Lu Chun looked at everyone. Chapter 1485. Lu Chun did not want any of the other materials in the vein. He only wanted the divine power stones. To the other teams, this was definitely a free trade. This, Brother Lone Quang, how can we refuse? I never thought that we would also have the chance to get a share of the loot. Solipsistic, since we have so many people, let's loot the vein first. I guarantee that we will find all the divine power stones for you. Nightmare thought for a moment and said, Everyone, Brother Lone Quang, is willing to share the opportunity with us, but we cannot take advantage of others. Everyone, sign an immortal contract and promise not to hide the ores. We will also exchange the corresponding divine power stones for other resources. Yes, yes, yes. This way, we can avoid people who only collect the ores they need and not look for the divine power stones. Nightmare said, Then it's decided. Everyone, please report the information of the main vein. We have 1 day to collect the ores. In terms of scale, this vein is not the largest. However, this is a brand new vein. Everything on the ground is wealth. After signing the immortal contract, everyone should pay attention to avoid the primal chaos beasts and quickly collect the ores. Nightmare had been helping Lu Chun. After signing the immortal contract, these teams hurriedly scattered in all directions to look for ores. Not long after, only Lu Chun's team and Nightmare's team were left. Thank you for your help, brother. Lu Chun cupped his fists towards Nightmare. It was also because of Nightmare's rich experience that he thought more carefully than Lu Chun. Nightmare smiled faintly as he looked at Lu Chun meaningfully. Lone Tyrant, he muttered Lu Chun's name once more. In the past, I've always thought that you were a proud and aloof person. Now that I've met you today, you've truly surprised me. You remind me of some people I met a long time ago. It seemed that Nightmare was recalling his experience before he became a god. Afterward, Nightmare looked at Lu Chun and said, Old Brother Du Quang, I've actually seen the dreams of many deities. Some of them thought that they had severed their mortal bonds, but could it be that they can sever their mortal bonds so easily? Some people have sealed their past away, not daring to recall it. But you, on the other hand, are living more realistically than any other god. I'm a little envious. Sighing, Nightmare said, Brother Lone Tyrant, I Nightmare do not have many friends in God's domain. If you don't mind, you can come find me if you need my help in the future. This is my sound transmission talisman. Lu Chun took the voice transmission talisman and said, "It's my honor to know Brother Nightmare." King of Nightmares smiled and nodded. His eyes were full of praise. "All right, it's time for our team to go pick up some money. I'm afraid there won't be a second chance if we miss this opportunity." Ha ha ha. These 200 teams were all professional mining teams. They were very experienced and knew how to avoid the chaos beasts. Little Green was very smart. In one day, the number of God Might stones in front of Lu Chun increased. Of course, they also gained a lot of benefits. Every team earned a lot. De Zhuang and the Marshal had already returned to their original forms. The two of them stood at the side and watched as Lu Chun sat there collecting the God Might stones. This kid really knows how to conduct himself. He earns so much more than the four of them. He even won over their hearts. The Marshal said. De Zhuang pursed his lips. His way of thinking is different from others. Along the way, he has dealt with so many dangers. "Sai, to be honest, I really want to take some. What do you want to do?" The Marshal narrowed his eyes and looked at De Zhuang. "I want to." De Zhuang was halfway through his sentence when he saw the Marshal's gaze. He immediately stopped and said, "What I want to do is none of your business." The two of them looked away. However, no one knew what they were thinking. One day later, Lu Chen's backpack was filled with God Might stones of various sizes. It was a pity that there were no more God Might stones here. Those things seemed to be very rare and could only be found by chance. Lu Chun had obtained a large number of God Might stones. The other teams had also dug up a large number of ores. It could be said that everyone was happy. Soon, the people of the 8 factions would come to the mining area. Lu Chun did not want to meet them and was already preparing to leave. There were a few intermediate gods who were all team leaders. They left a sound transmission talisman for Lu Chun, saying that they hoped to keep in touch in the future. Lu Chun thanked them one by one and quickly left the mining area with Netherworld and the others. After leaving the mining area, Lu Chun quickly left the Holy Land to avoid the people of the 8 factions and came to the Bone Demon's world of faith. In the small wooden house, Lu Chun looked at Netherworld and the others. Now, the 3 of them had wrapped themselves up tightly. They were not skeletons, but more like mummies. They could not even transform into human form. This meant that their strength had been greatly reduced. The life bone was a weakness for the undead race. However, it was also the source of power outside the spirit nucleus. It was just like the spirit nucleus of other races. The spirit nucleus provided spiritual power, but it was extremely weak. Lu Chun felt sad. The 3 of them had teamed up with him and had been helping him all this time. He had not protected his friends well. He asked, "Is there any way to help you recover your life bones?" Netherworld said, "We undead race can cultivate our own life bones. We just need some time. You don't have to worry about us." How could Lu Chun not see that Netherworld was pretending to be relaxed? If it was so easy to cultivate a life bone, wouldn't every undead race have dozens of life bones? Then, how do you cultivate your life bones? Lu Chun could only ask from a different angle. Withered Claw said, "Oh, this is not a secret. Some tombs contain undead spiritual energy. We refine the spiritual energy and use it to cultivate our life bones." Lu Chun thought about it. Netherworld and the other 2 did not have many worlds of faith. Otherwise, they would not have to stay in the Holy Land all year round. Rhubarb had mentioned that the outer world was extremely chaotic and there were constant battles. In that case, there would definitely be battlefields and tombs. The death chi accumulated in these places for a long time must be very terrifying. Moreover, there should be very few undead race who would go there to cultivate. If he could bring Netherworld and the others to the outer world, it would definitely be an opportunity for them to improve their strength. However, the 3 elders of the Dao faction had said that ordinary people from the Jiuqian could not enter the outer world. Later, Netherworld and the others left for the time being. Lu Chun closed the door and looked at the 2 people sitting in the corner. 2 seniors, De Zhuang smiled slightly. "Kid, do you want to take them to the outer world?" Lu Chun cupped his fists and said, "Sure enough, I can't hide it from the seniors." However, the three elders of the Dao faction said that no one can pass through that passage. I'm just taking a risk, but I'm afraid it will be difficult for them to pass through. De Zhuang thought about it and said, well, I'm sorry. Since we said that we won't help you, we won't guide you. Lu Qin sighed. Sure enough, these two people were still unwilling to tell him. Disappointed, he came to the snow mountain alone. Lu Qin seized the time to cultivate for the time being. This cultivation lasted until the middle of the night. While Lu Qin was cultivating, a small voice suddenly came from beside him. Little Lu Qin, come to the back of the mountain. Be quiet, don't let Panga see you. Lu Qin opened his eyes. There was no trace of anyone around. It was a sound transmission. It seemed that only Pangu and Netherworld could directly send a sound transmission without using a sound transmission talisman. Senior Netherworld? Hurry up. Pangu is asleep. I'll wait for you at the back of the mountain. The voice sounded a little anxious, like a thief. Chapter 1486. Lu Qin came to the other side of the snowy mountain, where someone was already waiting for him. Senior Nine Nether, why are you looking for me? Shoo, lower your voice. Nine Nether came before Lu Qin and whispered, didn't you want to bring Netherworld and the rest to outer space? Lu Qin seemed to be affected as well. He bowed and whispered, yes. Senior, do you have any ideas? It's quite a coincidence. Someone said, after 2 of their life bones were taken away, their strength was greatly reduced. Plus, they aren't very strong, so they can't even be considered gods now. Jiuqian's transportation array to outer space is set in the 8th heaven. Lower gods to supreme gods can't pass through, but those who haven't become gods can. Why is that? Lu Qin was surprised. Because in the 8th heaven, everyone is a god. Someone said matter-of-factly, you're the odd one out. If you want to bring Netherworld and the rest with you, it might not be safe. It's best if you destroy their last life bone. That way, it'll be safer. Destroy their last life bone. Lu Qin's eyes widened. This sacrifice seemed a little too big. Doesn't that mean they'll all die? No, I don't mean to completely destroy them, but to refine and weaken their life bones, Nine Nether said. Make their life bones extremely weak, but not so weak that they'll die. This requires you to control your spiritual power to the extreme. Lu Qin gasped. Isn't this a little too dangerous? Nine Nether looked at Lu Qin and suddenly asked, from the few battles you've had, your spiritual power has reached the 3rd level of minute subtlety, right? Yes. Nine Nether stroked his chin. It shouldn't be a problem. Are you confident in your spiritual power? I'm quite confident, but is this the only way? Then let's give it a try. You have to know that outer space has existed longer than Jiutian. Mutated beasts kill each other all year round, and it's extremely chaotic. The death aura it contains is thousands of times stronger than this world of undead faith. There really isn't a race more suitable for cultivating in outer space than the undead race. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So what if they lost 3 fate bones? As long as they can get out, their strength will increase by leaps and bounds. Lu Qin frowned and pondered for a moment before saying, I still need to discuss this matter with them. But, Senior, why are you suddenly willing to help me? I can help you. Nine Nether instantly became very serious. I'm helping them. All right, it's time for me to return. Otherwise, Pangu will discover me. Think about it carefully. If you miss this opportunity, with you Ming and the others' natural endowments, their accomplishments will probably be extremely limited. After saying that, Nine Nether disappeared without a trace. Lu Qin returned to his original spot with a heavy heart. He wanted to continue cultivating, but he found that he wasn't in the mood. Yu Ming and the others had helped him so much. If they hadn't helped Lu Qin find the mineral veins, they wouldn't have lost their cultivation. Lu Qin naturally wanted to help them improve their strength. It was just that this matter was a bit dangerous. He wanted to refine their last fate bone. If there was even the slightest mistake, the 3 of them would fall. If they were safe and cultivated slowly, they could still raise their level. In comparison, he didn't know what they would choose. In the second half of the night, Lu Chun couldn't cultivate, so he simply leaned against a rock and rested. "Hey, little Lu Chun." Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. Lu Chun was shocked and looked back. He didn't know when, but De Zhuang was already sitting beside him. This guy, fortunately, didn't intend to kill him. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. "Senior Pangu, why are you here?" Hee hee. De Zhuang smiled proudly. "Do you realize that there's still a big gap between you and me? Kid, remember, there's always someone better." Pangu suddenly started preaching. Senior Pangu, I don't think I'm that strong." You don't need to be humble. I just hope that you could guard against arrogance and rashness. Speaking of which, your growth speed, your ability to respond to emergencies, your combat skills, and your way of thinking are all quite good." Pangu was actually praising him. This made Lu Chun feel that this fellow didn't have any good intentions. "Senior, what are you trying to say?" Cough, cough. "I'm just passing on some experience to you." Pangu emphasized the word pass on. As he spoke, he looked at Lu Chun with a meaningful gaze, as if hoping that he could comprehend something. Lu Chun blinked. After thinking for a moment, he said, Oh, just a no, and that's it?" De Zhuang scratched his head anxiously. This child seemed quite smart. I've already said it so bluntly, but he still didn't understand what I meant. But he couldn't be blamed. He probably didn't think in that direction at all. After all, he was usually so cold and aloof. It seemed that he still needed to change his image. Thinking of this, Pangu stood up and walked in front of Lu Chun. With his hands behind his back, he looked at the starry sky. At the peak of martial arts, one can see all the mountains, the sky, and the stars. Which cultivator hasn't imagined such a scene? However, the path of martial arts is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Walking alone is always full of difficulties. Pangu's voice became unfathomable, deep and profound. After Pangu finished speaking, he waited for a while. In the end, there was no reply. Pangu turned around and found that Lu Chun was just in a daze. This kid. Can't he understand it all? Pangu sighed. "All right, let's start with the matter at hand. Little Lu Chun, are you still worried about your friend?" "Yes." Lu Chun finally came back to his senses. "Do you know that the 8 supreme gods spent 1,000 years to open a new passage to the outer heavens? And many people can pass through this passage." Lu Chun's eyes widened. "I didn't know about this." Pangu nodded. "It seems that the 8th heaven has a big operation this time. It's a pity that your friend is not strong enough to enter the 8 systems. So, if you want to take them to the outer heavens, you can only do the opposite. Weaken their strength until they are below the gods. Then, they can enter from the original passage." Lu Chun's eyes widened. Pangu's suggestion was the same as Jiuyo's. Since the 2 supreme gods said so, it seemed that this was the only way. "Little Lu Chun, you once asked me what the Jiotian is. To be honest, I don't know either. After all, I'm already a person of the past. Because the space-time turbulence I'm in is within the Jiotian, I'm now part of the Jiotian. But I can tell you one thing. It must be powerful beyond your imagination, even beyond my strength back then. So, if you want to ascend to the 9th heaven, you must at least surpass me back then." Lu Chun frowned. "Surpass Pangu back then? The god of creation who created the world." Chapter 1487. "Your foundation is not stable enough to surpass me," Pangu suddenly said. Pangu's words made Lu Chun reevaluate his strength. The divine power stone could allow him to level up quickly, but did he have the combat power to match his level? So far, he had only mastered 2 divine skills, God's Descent and Demon Abyss. His understanding of these 2 divine skills was not deep. He had not begun to comprehend the sky, ceiling, sun, shooting arrow. Other than that, he had not fully mastered the god-slaying spear and true fire mysterious ice sword. Although his attributes were very high, and his other skills were also very destructive, they could not be compared to divine skills in terms of changes and effects. In the past, he could fight opponents who were several realms higher, but now he could only fight opponents who were 2 stars higher to surpass Pangu. In addition to his level, his foundation must be very stable. Unfortunately, even if Lu Chun himself was aware of this, he didn't have much time. Since he came to the eighth heaven, things had happened one after another. Even the time he had to cultivate was very limited. Thinking of this, Lu Chun could not help but sigh and say helplessly, "Senior, it's not that I don't want to build a stable foundation, but my time is too tight. Many times, I have no choice." Pengu smiled. "I can see that. However, people like you will always be in the eye of the storm. However, the more it is so, the more you have to be stable. On the path of cultivation, the foundation determines the height you can reach in the future. The reason why the Hongmeng divine tree could become a supreme god, think about how much accumulation it had. Since the other supreme gods can be on the same level as it, their strength should be similar to it. To surpass them, you have to be more stable than them." It had to be said that Pengu's words were at the level of a senior expert, and it made Lu Chun suddenly wake up. "Little Lu Chun, if you want to go far, you have to be stable. Your little golden carp should be coming to find you soon. The place she found should be of some help to you." Lu Chun looked up at Pengu. Pengu actually knew the whereabouts of the little golden carp. "Oh no, that guy 9 Nether seems to have found something wrong. I have to go first." Pengu suddenly panicked. "Hey, don't tell anyone that I came to find you. I'm leaving." After Pengu finished speaking, his figure disappeared into thin air in front of Lu Chun. Shifeng did not know what kind of displacement skill it was. Lu Chun was left alone in the snow. Lu Chun smiled and shook his head. Pengu and 9 Nether, these two fellows were really confusing. Sometimes they were like two children. However, perhaps only those who had reached their level would be able to laugh at the winds and clouds of the game, God's domain. The next day, Netherworld and the others came to visit Lu Chun. Lu Chun took the opportunity to tell the three about the lifebone. "Lone Tyrant, are you saying that you want us to lose almost all of our cultivation and go to the outer world with you as non-gods?" Lu Chun nodded. "Something like that. Of course, you can also slowly recover your strength in the world of faith. That's safer." Withered Claw fiercely patted Lu Chun's shoulder and excitedly said, "What kind of joke is this? Who wants to slowly recover their strength in the world of faith? How many years would that take? Moreover, even if they cultivated for hundreds or thousands of years, they would only be able to recover their original strength at most." Netherworld also seemed somewhat excited. "If we can go to the outer world, we might be able to increase our strength in a short period of time. We might even be able to advance to intermediate god or even superior god." Bone Demon softly said, "I don't want to wait any longer. I'm too embarrassed like this." Lu Chun was rather surprised. The three of them actually agreed to go to the outer world so straightforwardly. This seems a little dangerous. After all, this is the last lifebone. Do you want to reconsider?" Lu Chun still needed to remind them of the risks. "Lone Tyrant, with your control over spiritual energy, who else can we trust but you?" "That's right. At worst, we'll just die. However, if we succeed, we'll be able to advance several levels. Why not take the risk? Furthermore, we also want to go to the outer world to take a look." Seeing that the three of them had already made up their minds, Lu Chun took a deep breath. "All right, I'll refine your life bones." Netherworld was the first to hand over his life bone. Lu Chun got Little Beast and the others to stand guard outside. Even though there shouldn't be any danger here, no mistakes could be made. Refining a life bone was similar to absorbing the spiritual energy from a beast core. To Lu Chun, it wasn't very difficult. What he needed to do was to concentrate and adjust the circulation of his spiritual energy to synchronize with the circulation of the spiritual energy in the life bone. Then he would proceed in order and guide the spiritual energy to flow out. Time passed by minute. Lu Chun meticulously refined Netherworld's life bone. After 2 hours, Netherworld's life bone was completely refined. There was only an extremely weak spiritual energy left in the life bone. When Netherworld put the life bone back into his body, even his rank changed. 9-star Netherworld Immortal Supremacy? Netherworld looked at his own rank in shock. He had already become a Supremacy Immortal? I've returned to hundreds of years ago. Speaking of which, I really missed the days back then. Skeleton hurriedly took out his life bone and handed it to Lu Chun. Old Quan, this is mine. 2 hours later, Skeleton also retreated to a 9-star supremacy. In the end, Bone Demon took out her life bone in embarrassment. Brother Kwang, thank you for your trouble. Lu Chun smiled and began to refine Bone Demon's life bone. When refining the life bone, the spiritual energy contained in the life bone was absorbed by Lu Chun at the same time. Therefore, he didn't feel tired. Instead, he became more and more energetic. It also took 2 hours for Lu Chun to complete the refinement of Bone Demon's life bone. After Bone Demon put back the life bone, there were already 3 supremacies standing in front of Lu Chun. Speaking of which, we seem to still be able to absorb the power of faith, but our spiritual energy level has dropped to the level of an immortal supremacy, Netherworld said after sensing it. The power of faith isn't stored in the life bone, so it hasn't been lost. It's just that the spiritual energy and bone strength have dropped a lot, Skeleton said. This is great. Lone Kwang, we're all little supremacies now. It seems like we can only rely on you. Lu Chun smiled. Don't worry, I definitely won't let anything happen to you guys this time. When we reach outer space, I'll find a place for you guys to cultivate. I must raise your level as soon as possible. After staying in the snow mountain for a few days, the ice surface of a lake at the foot of the mountain was suddenly knocked open. A huge golden carp jumped out from the bottom of the lake and instantly turned into a graceful beauty. Boss, I'm back. Can you come down and pick me up? Little Golden Carp said to the voice transmission talisman. Not long after, Lu Chun brought the little beast and the others to the foot of the mountain. Little Golden Carp. Boss. Little Golden Carp pounced into Lu Chun's arms. Little Golden Carp missed you so much. Little Golden Carp's slightly warm body and soft and smooth body touching Lu Chun gave Lu Chun an indescribable feeling. Little Golden Carp frowned slightly and said to Rhubarb, Little Golden Carp didn't miss us. She only missed Dad. Rhubarb, we always thought that Little Golden Carp should be a younger sister. Could it be that we were all wrong? Rhubarb nodded. Indeed, she could also be a stepmother. It's just that although your dad has always been trying to get rid of being single, he still doesn't have the intelligence to do so. This marriage is probably hopeless. Chapter 1488. The Little Golden Carp went out for a period of time and actually found an abandoned world without an owner. That world was barren and full of devastation. The ground was torn apart, and the mountains had obvious traces of being cut open. It seemed that some powerful people fought here, causing this world to be unrecognizable and uninhabitable. This crack actually goes deep into the Earth's core. Withered Claw came out from the ground. At least a superior god fought here to cause such terrifying destruction. Speaking of the Earth's core, Lu Chun also went underground to take a look. Unfortunately, the energy of the Earth's core was not high enough. For Lu Chun's cultivation, the fire element attribute was not very helpful. This place has been abandoned for a long time. I reckon the planet won't last much longer. Yu Ming said, from the state of the Earth's core, it might be less than 3 years. Bone Demon asked, Little Golden Carp, is there really a space-time space here? The Little Golden Carp nodded. It can't be wrong. Follow me. In the sky above a cliff, there was a black whirlpool suspended in midair. It's here. The Little Golden Carp pointed at the black hole and said, the energy flow is obviously different from the surroundings. It should be a space formed after the space-time distortion during the battle between powerful people. The Earth's core of this world is damaged and can't be repaired. Boss, this kind of crack is very dangerous. The gravity inside is very strong. Once you enter, you need to be able to come out by yourself. Moreover, this world won't last much longer. It should be destroyed in 3 years. If you can't come out by then, you will be annihilated together with the space. The little beast frowned and said, Little Golden Carp, this place is also very dangerous. The Little Golden Carp nodded. It is very dangerous. Because of this, ordinary people don't dare to enter. However, this is the best place to cultivate. Not only does the time flow very slow inside, It can reach a ratio of 1 to 15. The most important thing is that under the high pressure inside, it is also very helpful for cultivation. Not only can you cultivate your mental cultivation method to level up here, you can also comprehend your cultivation method. I thought maybe boss could use it, so I brought you here to take a look. Luchan nodded his head. It seemed that this cultivation point was not something that could be easily used. This place is a bit similar to the black hole arrow of the god of hunting. Luchan muttered, "Little golden carp, what realm do you think you need to reach to get out of here? It's not just a matter of cultivation level." Little golden carp said, "Boss needs to use a high-level displacement skill and use a skill that has enough damage to tear open the crack and escape from inside. Displacement and cultivation methods are indispensable. As for how many attacks I'll need, I'll have to test it out before I know." Luchan thought about it. If time passed slowly in there, then 3 years in the outside world would be equivalent to 45 years in there. He wondered if he could come out. However, the little golden carp said that the most important thing about this place was that the pressure here was far greater than ordinary cultivation places. Therefore, the effect was better than other cultivation places. De Zhuang and De Shui remained silent as they watched Luchan make his decision. After weighing the pros and cons for a moment, Luchan gritted his teeth and said, "All right, then I'll go in." It was a pity that Yu Ming and the others were too weak and couldn't enter with Luchan. "Little beast, follow me. I'll bring you to the world of beasts," little golden carp said. "If you want to go to outer space, you need to increase your strength." Hearing that there was a world of beasts, the 4 beasts were immediately interested. After everyone's cultivation was arranged, Luchan looked at De Zhuang and De Shui. "Seniors, do you want to go in with me?" De Zhuang shook his head. "Kid, don't count on us. If you can't get out, we'll help you. It's not convenient for us to enter this place. We can't exist in 2 space-time, chaotic spaces at the same time." To Pangu and 9 underworlds, Zhou Tian was in existence with space-time disorder. If they entered this crack, it would be a mistake on top of a mistake. It would easily lead to some unknown mistakes. Since that was the case, Luchan didn't delay any longer and stepped into the space-time crack. This wasn't a teleportation array, so there wouldn't be any dizziness. However, when Luchan entered, he felt a huge pressure around him, making him a little breathless. Luchan hurriedly circulated his spiritual power to resist the strong pressure. "What is this place? The pressure is so great," Luchan said in surprise. "How can I cultivate in this place?" However, Luchan couldn't leave this place now. Since he was already here, Luchan took a deep breath and thought of a solution. "I should increase my attributes first. Otherwise, I won't be able to cultivate." Thinking of this, Luchan took out the Divine Might Stone and began to absorb the spiritual power of the Divine Might Stone. It can't be. Even controlling the spiritual power has become strenuous. Luchan frowned. Usually, he could easily absorb the spiritual power, but now he had to do his best. The passage of time in the crack was 1 to 15. Luchan spent 10 days, which was equivalent to 150 days in the outside world before he absorbed all the Divine Might Stone. "I'm almost there." "Forget it. There won't be any qualitative change from 5-star to 6-star. At least my attributes have increased by a lot, so the effect won't be much different." Luchan felt the pressure in the space again, and it was indeed much easier than before. Then, Luchan took out the god-slaying spear. Great void arm, endless break. Dawn. Luchan had just used the spear technique that he had learned long ago, but his attack was ineffective. The huge pressure made Luchan's attack sink like a stone into the sea without causing any ripples. "Damn, I can't even unleash the power of the technique." Luchan's eyes widened. The danger in this crack was beyond his imagination. "It seems that I need more connections to break through this space. Only by concentrating the damage will I be able to get out in 3 years." After saying that, Luchan swung his spear again. As the pressure in the space was too great, Luchan was sweating profusely after practicing for a while. He sat down to adjust his breathing. In the following days, Luchan practiced the technique countless times. Luchan felt that after at least 10 years, he could already use the moves that he had learned in this world. My control is stronger than before. Liu Chen looked at the spear in his hand. Since there's no problem with endless break, let's try the next spear technique. Taking advantage of the break, Liu Chen began to study the 5th stage of the god-slaying spear. The 5th stage, floating light spear shadow, was a light-type group attack. The 6th stage, double dragon reincarnation, was a fire-type single-target attack. The 7th stage, proud spear shield, was a purely defensive technique. The power of the 3 spear techniques was not weak, but the difficulty was in adding more elements in the later stages. However, Liu Chen had the Jiutian Eternal Star. With his foundation, it was not difficult for him to master it. The only regret was that after mastering these 3 moves, Liu Chen tried to attack the Fisher world, but he still could not split it open. The 8th stage, Soaring Heaven Massacre, requires the comprehension of the war god spear Dao. I can't cultivate it at the moment. Liu Chen frowned. He had comprehended spear intent and was nearing completion, but he had not touched spear Dao yet. It seems that Soaring Heaven Massacre is a qualitative change. Maybe I can get out of here after mastering this move. It's just that I haven't comprehended spear Dao yet, so I can't cultivate it at the moment. I'll comprehend something else first. Liu Chen could only use the Ice Fire Mystic Ice Sword and Demon Abyss, but he could not use them as he wished. The root cause was that he did not have a deep enough understanding of Sword Dao. No wonder I don't have as much advantage as before. If I can comprehend the so-called Sword Dao and Spear Dao, my strength might increase greatly. Liu Chen cultivated alone and did not feel bored at all. Instead, he enjoyed it. The pressure here was immense, but the benefits of cultivating under such pressure were obvious. After familiarizing himself with the 5th to 7th stage of the god-slaying spear, Liu Chen finally attacked the 8th stage. Spear Dao. Liu Chen recalled Panga's ability to control time and space. Panga said that it was a kind of heavenly Dao comprehension, a state stronger than intent techniques. Chapter 1489. The last time he heard news of Liu Chen was when he left the Holy Landmine. In the next 3 years, he actually lost track of Liu Chen's whereabouts. In the past 3 years, Liu Chen had been cultivating in the space-time crack. The 4 beasts followed Little Golden Carp to various worlds where strange beasts roamed. In the space-time crack, 3 years was 45 years. This was not the space of consciousness. Not only that, but there was also a huge pressure. In the extraterrestrial Divine Devil Palace, Liu Chen had just come out from the 3rd level. The crack could not stop Liu Chen from entering the extraterrestrial Divine Devil Palace. The opponents on this level had reached the level of a 9-star lower god. However, now that Liu Chen had reached the level of a 5-star human emperor, it was naturally not difficult to win. Old Back said that the treasures on the first 5 levels of the Divine Devil Palace had been taken away. So now, Liu Chen only had some rare materials. Old Back, don't tell me the 4th level is a 9-star middle god. Liu Chen seemed to have found pattern. Each level of the Divine Devil Palace was a major realm. The 7th level was the Supreme God. You are definitely not a celestial prime war soul. Liu Chen said in a low voice. What kind of opponents are on the 8th and 9th levels of the Divine Devil Palace? Old Back turned his back to Liu Chen as usual. Liu Chen, let me ask you, if you reach the level of a supreme god, will you continue to become stronger? Liu Chen was stunned. After thinking for a while, he said, definitely. I will not stop until I save my father. That's it. Who said that the supreme god is the strongest? Liu Chen frowned. Today, he felt more and more that martial arts were boundless. Chiemo said, Liu Chen, I didn't expect you to be able to pass through the 3rd level of the Divine Devil Palace in such a short time. It seems that losing to you is not a shameful thing. Liu Chen smiled. Chiemo, when did you learn to flatter people? By the way, what is the relationship between the extraterrestrial Divine Devil Palace and the extraterrestrial Divine Devil Palace? Liu Chen asked. Old Man faintly said, when you reach outer space, perhaps you will be able to figure it out. Although these treasures don't match the difficulty of passing through the palace, there's nothing you can do about it. Someone has passed through the first few levels, and the treasures of the demonic palace have already been taken away. If you want the best treasures, you should pass through the 6th level as soon as possible. Jiuqian's Eternal Star has gained its first magical equipment skill after its upgrade. Take your time to learn it. All right, it's time for you to leave. Lu Qin nodded and left the demonic palace. The pressure around him was still the same, but Lu Qian was already used to it. He checked the skill that he had obtained after the Jiuqian star leveled up. Chaotic Storm. Through the alternation of various elements, it creates a chaotic elemental attack that is difficult to defend against. This effect can be attached to any offensive skill. It seems a little strong, Lu Qian thought. In other words, this was an auxiliary skill. When combined with different moves, it would produce different effects. It could be used for group attacks or single attacks. It could even be used to buff little Beastie and the others. With this buff, his combat power increased by more than just a little. It was not difficult to comprehend the Chaotic Storm. Lu Qian first tried to use the Chaotic Storm on the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart and summoned a few clones. Every sword aura he swung out instantly turned into a black mist, which was caused by the fusion of various elements. After the sword aura hit the clones, the damage they received was far greater than before. Did it only increase the attack power? The power is smaller than I thought. Lu Qian frowned slightly. When I made my move, I converted about 10 types of elements. If I let the stars of the 9th heaven revolve twice as fast, I can achieve 20 types of elemental changes. Maybe the effect will be better. This time, Lu Qian directly activated his full state and swung his sword again. After the clones were hit, the injured parts were severely distorted and collapsed in a short time. After the sword, the clones dissipated. Instantly, this is just the one-sword Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Lu Qian widened his eyes. Damn, this is the true power of the Chaotic Storm. It's too strong. Lu Qian tried to merge the Chaotic Storm into the Heaven's Fury Spear. This time, a terrifying turbulence formed in the space, like a tornado sweeping through the entire space. With a thrust of the spear, the space shook. I still can't break open the crack. If I reach the level of 6-star in Huang, I should be able to break open this place. However, it's not difficult to increase my realm. I still have a lot of God Power Stones. If it's not enough, I can reach the level of 6-star Renhuang after a while of cultivation. However, it's difficult to break open this space with techniques. Then I won't increase my realm. Let's see when I can break the array with techniques. Lu Qian originally wanted to stabilize his foundation, so he was not in a hurry to increase his realm. Lu Qian practiced his techniques madly in this space without heaven and earth. The defense of the space became Lu Qian's best opponent. He swung his spear, swung his sword, improved, and merged the Chaotic Storm again and again. In order to practice the shield of the Proud Spear array, he let his doppelgangers attack while he defended himself. In order to increase his attack power, he attacked the space wall countless times. In order to practice his body movement, he used more than 30 doppelgangers to attack while he did not do anything to defend himself. He only dodged with God's arrival. Immersed in cultivation, Lu Qian gradually lost track of how much time had passed in the outside world. On this day, Lu Qian had just opened his eyes, and his mind was still thinking about cultivation. During this period of time, he felt that the space seemed to be more and more unable to withstand his crazy attacks. He had to restrain his strength to avoid shattering the space so quickly. Just as he was about to start practicing, he suddenly received a voice transmission. "Brother Du Quang, where are you? The 8 supreme gods have opened the passage to the outer space and led the gods to attack, wanting to annex the outer space. However, the power of the alien beasts is too terrifying. The two sides have been fighting for 2 years, and both sides have won and lost. Now, the demons from the outer space have been attracted. Flames of war are everywhere on the alien battlefield, and it's extremely tragic. The situation seems to be a little out of control." It was a message from Nightmare. Lu Qian asked, "Brother Nightmare, where are you?" There was no reply. Not long after, Lu Chun received another message. This time, it was from the three elders of the Taoist lineage. Lu Chun, the plan has changed. The original plan was for you to go to the outer space in 5 years, but now it has to be brought forward. 2 years ago, the 8 supreme gods opened the passage to the outer space. Originally, the gods were unstoppable, swallowing the world. However, as the demons from the outer space entered the battlefield, the war gradually went out of control. Lu Chun, remember, your task is not to participate in the alien battlefield. You have to avoid the battle and find the origin of the heavenly path. You must enter the outer space in 2 months. Lu Chun frowned. The 2 messages in a row were about the alien battlefield. It seemed that there was a big problem there. If the Zhou was defeated, would Earth be in danger? Anyway, it seemed that it was time for him to leave. 2 months in the outside world. For Lu Chun, there were still 3 years. I haven't comprehended the spear principle yet, but it seems that it's too late. Lu Chun frowned and said, I have to become a 6-star human sovereign first. Chapter 1490. 2 months later, a white light suddenly erupted in the sky of the unknown planet, instantly illuminating the entire world. Yu Ming and the others looked up at the sky and saw a white-haired man in golden armor floating in the air. Lu Chun. Yu Ming's eyes widened. You broke the space crack. In an instant, Lu Chun was already in front of Yu Ming. I could have broken it 10 years ago, but I didn't understand the spear Dao. Have you understood it now? Lu Chun shook his head. Not yet, but I don't have time. Let's wait for Xiao Shou and the others to come back and go to outer space immediately. After saying that, Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly. Outer space had suddenly changed, and the Zhou had changed. The world now seemed to be experiencing an unprecedented storm. At the headquarters of the Earth Alliance, the leaders of various countries were gathered here. At the same time, there were 2 acquaintances of Lu Chun here, Yi Fan and Li Shang. Mr. Yi Fan, are you sure that the Zhou is at war with outer space? I mean, what exactly is outer space? Yi Fan said in a deep voice. I'm not very clear at the moment, but I've received news that the 8th heaven has opened the outer space road, and the gods are fighting with the alien beasts. Originally, the Zhou gods were unstoppable, but half a year ago, the demons from outer space joined the war, and now the situation is uncertain. Then what can we do? A European leader asked. Yi Fan took a deep breath. The current situation of the war is still unpredictable. I came to Earth for 2 things. First, Yi Fan took out a shadow stone. This is a high-level shadow stone. There are many shadow stones in the alien battlefield that record the war. At present, many of the shadow stones have been connected. You can use this to see the situation of the alien battlefield. Second, I want to find Master, but Mad God hasn't returned to Earth for several years. The representative of Hua Nation said. Yi Fan said, take me to Marshal Antlu Yi. Li Shang also said, Yi Fan is Chun Er's disciple and our friend. I can guarantee this, otherwise I would not have brought him to Earth. Everyone looked at each other, and in the end, they looked at the Great Wall of Iron and Blood. The Great Wall of Iron and Blood thought for a moment, then said, then, I'll get someone to bring you there. Not long after, Yi Fan and Li Shang had already appeared on the streets of Jiang City. Li Muhua drove the military bulletproof car to pick them up. As the car drove along the road, Yi Fan looked at the outside world through the window. Was this Master's hometown? Master said that although his hometown was a technological world, it was very beautiful here. Unfortunately, his master was not here, so he could not show him around. I wonder how Chun is doing in the 8th layer of heaven. Li Shang was somewhat worried. Yi Fan came back to his senses and patted Li Shang's shoulder. Don't worry, Senior Li Shang, my master will be fine. Li Shang sighed. Yi Fan, why did the 8 supreme gods open the outer heaven road? Originally, the Zhou was relatively stable, but now, the situation is getting more and more difficult to control. Yi Fan said faintly, although I'm far from the supreme god realm, if I put myself in their shoes, it's not difficult to guess the reason. Oh, what do you think it is? Their strength can't go any further. Yi Fan replied, the 9 heavens domain has a total of 9 heavens, and they've been trapped in the 8th layer of heaven for who knows how many years. If I were them, I would definitely think of ways to increase my strength and enter the legendary 9th layer of heaven. And if the answer is not in the Jiutian, then it must be in the outer heaven. When Yi Fan said this, Li Shang finally understood. Humans are never satisfied, and those who can fight their way to the supreme god realm are all people who are obsessed with martial arts. How can they be willing to be trapped in the 8th layer of heaven forever? Sigh. Yi Fan sighed. I heard that there is more than one outer heaven demon in the outer heaven. Right now, one outer heaven demon is enough to make all the gods fall into a quagmire. If more outer heaven demons come, then the Jiutian will really change this time. It's a pity that I'm still in the 7th layer of heaven. Even Master can't reach the supreme god realm now. People like us are like a lone boat in the middle of a tsunami. Our fate is in the hands of others. Li Shang patted Yi Fan. Yi Fan, don't worry, your progress is already very fast. Besides, the 8 supreme gods haven't been defeated yet. Yi Fan nodded. This was the best news at the moment. Yi Fan looked at Li Muhua and suddenly asked, you are Senior Li Muhua? Li Muhua almost spat out a mouthful of blood. It was said that the 2 people he met were both immortals, especially this Yi Fan, who has reached the level of Sengoku. The whole Earth combined, excluding Lu Chun, is probably not enough to beat this guy. But a Sengoku called me. Senior? This is too terrifying. I wouldn't dare. How would Sengoku know a small shrimp like me? Yi Fan cupped his fists and said, Senior Muhua, you are my master's friend, and I often hear my master talk about you. Naturally, you are my senior. Sweat dripped down Li Muhua's forehead. He was a rookie. Did he have to be so senior? He was not used to it. Cough, cough, cough. Well, you can just call me Muhua. By the way, I heard the 2 great gods talking about the alien battlefield. Those so-called gods can't win? Yi Fan shook his head. Actually, we just got the news. I guess the pressure of the 8th heaven is too great, and this war affects all the heavens below the Jiutian. That's why we got the news. As for the gods, I haven't seen them before. My current strength is still too weak. This, Sengoku, is still weak. Li Muhua was speechless. However, if the gods are defeated, does that mean that the earth will be in danger again? Yi Fan said in a low voice, when the nest is overturned, no egg will remain intact. Although the earth has not been swallowed by the Jiutian, since you have a passage to the Jiutian, you have nowhere to run. Li Muhua's heart was heavy. This feeling of not being able to control his own fate was terrible. Soon, the car arrived at the gate of the neighborhood. Of course, this place had become a military base, and Lu Chin's villa was only a small part of the military base. Lu Yi's house is in front. The car stopped in front of the villa. Li Muhua brought Li Shang and Yi Fan to the small courtyard in front of the villa. At this time, the courtyard was surrounded by armed soldiers. After all, Lu Yi's safety was the most important thing. Lu Yi had already received the news and was waiting in the courtyard. When she saw Li Muhua and the others, she came out to welcome them. Brother Muhua, Yi Fan, and Uncle Li Shang. Yi Fan looked around and narrowed his eyes. Uncle Lu Yi, have any strangers been looking for you recently? Lu Yi frowned. It's you. Yi Fan's fighting spirit that had just been ignited was immediately deflated. Uncle Lu Yi, I'm Master's disciple. I'm one of us. I'm very sad to hear you say that. I'm talking about other than me. That's not true. Louis thought for a while and said. Yi Fan narrowed his eyes. Could it be that the secret transmission he received was fake? Chapter 1491. After Yi Fan left, the leaders of the various countries turned on the Shadow Stone. The first thing that appeared on the Shadow Stone was a map that confused everyone. But soon, a red dot appeared on one of the maps. Look at what's happening there. The Shadow Stone's perspective crossed the galaxy and arrived at a huge planet. When the planet was zoomed in, everyone was dumbfounded when they saw the battle on it. Splitting mountains and splitting the earth with a sword, triggering tsunamis with a punch, and divine beasts are everywhere. A battle of this level is too unbelievable. Yifan said that only superior gods in the eighth heaven are qualified to enter the alien battlefield. But why are those dark beasts so strong that they can fight against superior gods? The alien battlefield is actually so terrifying. Without a doubt, Earth was not qualified to participate in a battle of this level. Everyone, if the flames of war spread to the low-level heavenly regions, I'm afraid we won't be able to stop it. Now, I'd like to ask, should these effects be made public on the internet? Someone asked, and everyone fell silent. If it's made public, will it cause global unrest? It's possible, but do we really have to wait for the flames of war to reach our doorsteps before we tell the people everything? Someone expressed a different opinion. Everyone, ever since we came into contact with the nine heavens, our world has been different from before. Many people at the meeting had different opinions. In the end, everyone looked at the representative of Hua country. Over the years, Hua country's strength had continued to increase rapidly. Even Luchun was Chinese. As the world's largest country, Hua country had long become the leader of all the countries on Earth. The Great Wall of Iron and Blood could not decide on this matter. Everyone, please wait for 10 minutes. I'll report this to my superiors. The Great Wall of Iron and Blood left hurriedly and found a private room. Sir, this is what happened. Currently, Lu Chen's disciple has given us the film, and the various countries are now divided on whether to make the film public. What do you think? The phone was silent for a moment. Not long after, the voice on the other end sounded. Earth is really weak. The leader's words were indescribably bitter and helpless. However, the other party quickly changed the topic. Great Wall, the most important thing to us Hua country people is the word home. Do you know how many people are risking their lives to cultivate? How many people have given up everything just to protect Earth? Li Shang and the others have exhausted their youth. Enduring the humiliation, many young people cultivate day and night to increase their strength. Great Wall, others say that we are the decision makers. However, the true protectors of Earth are the nameless heroes. We have no right to deprive them of the right to know the truth. The rights of the people should belong to the people. Besides, do you still remember what that person said? This time, we'll let everyone know that danger is right beside us. The Great Wall of Iron and Blood took a deep breath. His leader's words had enlightened him, and the doubts in his heart no longer existed. Yes, Chief, I know what to do. After putting down the phone, the Great Wall of Iron and Blood strode towards the conference room. Everyone, I suggest that we release the footage. The Great Wall of Iron and Blood's voice was incomparably resolute. If these Jiuqian gods can defeat the alien beast, then let our next generation and the generation after that continue to strive to become stronger. If the alien beasts invade Jiuqian and the flames of war spread to Earth, then we will fight together with everyone. Soon, the Shadowstone footage appeared on the official website of the Earth Alliance. The horror of the alien battlefield deeply shocked everyone. On the official website of the Jiuqian Earth, people were discussing the alien battlefield crazily. Are those the gods of the level 8 heaven? I remember that the invasion of the immortals last time was already despairing enough. This time it's a battle of gods. Those alien beasts are too terrifying. They can fight with the gods. In a battle of this level, we are just like ants. We can't resist it all. However, soon, the Great Wall of Iron and Blood speech was released on the official website. My compatriots, well, I'm talking about my compatriots from Earth. When you see this footage, you will be extremely shocked. In this regard, I am the same as you. However, the reason why we release these footage and the information we have about the alien battlefield is that we are all members of Earth. In this regard, I'm no different from you. There has always been a saying in Jiutian that the human race is one of the weakest races. However, there is one person who has used his strength to tell everyone that this nonsense is nonsense. And I believe that all of you know who this person is. We can't control the direction of the war now. Maybe in a few years, the Earth will be flattened by these powerful creatures. However, if we are given a chance, we will become stronger. If this generation can't do it, then the next generation will do it. If the next generation can't do it, then the next generation will do it. We will let our children and grandchildren no longer feel inferior as humans and depressed as earthlings. This planet has raised human beings, and we will do everything we can to protect our home. When the video ended, the discussion in the comment section immediately changed. Those who were shouting that there is no way out, shut up. The Earth Alliance has released the footage. It's much better than waiting for the alien beast to come to your door without you knowing. That's right. The war hasn't even started, and you are already admitting defeat. Trash. If we can have a mad god, we can have a second one. If one generation can't do it, then we will have 10 generations. If 10 generations can't do it, then we will have 100 generations. I like the Earth Alliance. I think it's a good thing to let our children feel a sense of crisis. We also have to cultivate well and be good examples for our children. The expected global uproar did not happen. When it came to the survival of a race, Earthlings were surprisingly united. Of course, with such a big incident, the most popular words in the comment section were Earth War God, Solipsistic, Mad God, Nameless, and Luchan. Where was the Mad God now? Marshall Ant, has Master not been back for a long time? Fan asked. Lu nodded. That's right. Can you stop calling me Marshall Uncle? It sounds weird. Just call me Big Sister Lu. Yes, that's fine too. Fan nodded. However, Fan had a lot on his mind right now. Fan, why are you looking for my brother? Lu asked. Sister Lu. Fan hesitated for a moment and said, I received an anonymous voice transmission earlier. The voice transmission said that there's a treasure on Earth that is very important to master. However, someone has already sneaked into Earth and is looking for this treasure. What? Earth? Lu cannot believe it. Fan nodded. If it's a treasure that is very important to master, I think the other party might start with you. No matter what, I must find this treasure before they do. Chapter 1492. Fan was not familiar with Earth, and he was worried about leaving Lu here alone. Therefore, the best way was to let Lu accompany him. Lu was duty-bound to do anything related to her brother. Lu said, Wait for me. After I send the 2 kids to my husband planet, I will accompany you. Oh, by the way, tell Brother Muhua that he has been responsible for my safety. If I leave like this, he will not be able to answer to his superiors. Little Beastie and the others had returned. Little Beastie's voice was deeper than before. It seemed that it was one step closer to the perfect form. Little Originator's attack power was much higher than before. It seemed that it had been beaten up a lot. Little Furball still had not changed much. As for Rhubarb, it seemed that he had given up on cultivation and was enjoying himself with the 3 beasts. Netherworld had repaired the Earth Puppet. The Earth Guardian led by Qianji could now be used normally. De Zhuang and Marshall did not quarrel with each other. Instead, they looked a little strange. Seniors, what's wrong with you? Luchan was not used to this. Well, if you're going to outer space, we will not follow you. Seniors, you're not going? Luchan was surprised. Aren't you going to look after the 2 souls? Pangus smiled. We're in the space-time turbulence and are in the 9th heaven. Therefore, it is inconvenient for us to leave. Nine Nether also said, I used to worry that you would be stupid, but now, it seems that you're not stupid. Therefore, there is nothing for us to worry about. With your growth speed, it is not difficult for you to become a superior god. Besides, you will not suddenly fuse the 2 souls before becoming a superior god. Don't worry. When you return to the space, we will still keep an eye on you. Luchan wanted to say that it would be better for them not to keep an eye on him. But on second thought, it was their fault. After everything was ready, Luchan took Netherworld and the other 2 to the place where the 3 elders of Taoism were staying. Tai Xing, Xianjun, and Chun Daoist saw Luchan. They put down their work and were the first to receive him. Luchan, do you know about what happened in outer space? Tai Xing asked. Got it, Luchan said. There are too many variables now, so I have to save Mu Sheng as soon as possible. After pondering for a moment, Lu Chen asked, "Three elders, since the battle is now out of control, why haven't the 8 over-gods closed the tunnel?" The 3 old men looked at each other and said, "There is one possibility. They found a way to break through to the 8th heavenly layer. Perhaps the key to breaking through the 8th heavenly layer lies in the outer space. Therefore, even though the battle situation is getting more and more confusing, they still haven't closed the passage." Lu Chan frowned and said, "In order to break through to the 8th heaven, they don't care about the safety of the myriad races?" The worldly Taoist said, "We don't know, but one thing is for sure. None of the 8 paramount gods mentioned anything about closing the passage. They're all in agreement. So, I'm guessing there's another possibility. They can't close the tunnel. In other words, I can't close the channel in a short period of time." Lu Chan fell into silence for a moment. He was still unfamiliar with the 8 paramount gods, so he could not guess what they were thinking. Xianjun said, "Since the battle in outer space concerns the entire Jutian myriad races, the news of the battle has spread throughout the 9 heavens. Every world is paying attention to this, because once the gods are defeated, the fate of the myriad races is obvious." Lu Chen sighed. He could only hope that the gods could win the battle. "Do you want to go back to your world to take a look?" asked the worldly Taoist. Lu Chan fell into silence for a moment and shook his head. "I don't have that much time. Moreover, I haven't done what I promised. It's meaningless for me to go back." He said that he would bring Yao Er's mother back next time, but he had no idea how Mu Sheng was doing. Even if he could bring Mu Sheng back, a mother with no memories would be a huge blow to the child. He had to find a nightmare taper. "I'm bringing these 3 friends with me," Lu Chan said. Taixing looked at Netherworld and the other 2 in surprise. "The channel you're going through has existed since ancient times. Ordinary people would not be able to use it." "It's fine. I'll think of a way. Just send me there." Since Lu Chen insisted, the 3 Dao elders did not reject Lu Chen's request as long as it did not affect their plans. "This is a teleportation talisman. You can go there directly." The worldly Taoist handed over a teleportation talisman. Picking up the teleportation talisman, Lu Chen looked at Netherworld and the other 2. He saw that their eyes were filled with excitement and anticipation, as well as nervousness. Lu Chen smiled. "Let's go." Pinching the teleportation talisman, Lu Chen and the others arrived in front of an ancient temple. It looked like an ancient temple, but when they opened the door, they realized that there was only a miniature teleportation gate that was 2 meters tall in a main hall. Not long after, Taixing came as well. He pointed at the teleportation gate and said, "You can go through here and reach outer space. I'm not sure where we'll be teleported to. If we're lucky, we should be far away from the main battlefield. However, the beasts are very vigilant now. You still have to be careful." Taixing said and gave Lu Chen a shadow stone. "This is a map of the regions that have been explored so far. There were wars in these places, so the beasts should still be there. You should try to avoid these worlds." Lu Chen took the shadow stone and nodded. Then, he looked at his friends. "Everyone, let's go." Netherworld and the others followed Lu Chen and stepped into the teleportation gate. After coming out of the teleportation gate, Lu Chen looked at the barren world and was excited. This is outer space? There were volcanoes, deserts, and gales everywhere. It was like a fortress. However, the pressure in this world could not be compared to the spatial rift. Lu Chen could not feel any gravity. Wow, what a strong aura of death. Netherworld took a deep breath and felt the smell of corpses in the soil. What happened to this planet before? Lu Chen took out the shadow stone and matched it with his location. He found that he was not on any of the battleground planets. Fortunately, we're quite far from the battleground. Lu Chen said, "This might be caused by the beasts killing each other." Since they were in outer space, Lu Chen summoned Rhubarb. When Rhubarb came out, he took a deep breath and said with an intoxicated expression, "Wow, the smell of home. The spiritual energy here is called spiritual energy." Lu Chen smiled. "Rhubarb, do you know this place?" Rhubarb looked around and looked at the location shown on the shadow stone. He frowned and said, "This place should not be near Jiuqian, but I'm not sure where exactly. Outer space is boundless. There's so many planets and worlds. How can I know all of them? However, judging from the approximate location of this planet and the current ecological situation, this should not be a planet that gave birth to beasts. It should have been ransacked by beasts." Lu Chun asked in surprise, "What exactly is an otherworldly beast? Aren't you an alien beast?" Big Yellow said, "How can I explain this? I can only say that there are many kinds of alien beasts. Among them, the most powerful and the craziest ones come from, in the words of some technological world, it is the dark universe. As for me, I'm not much different from you. It's just that I'm from the Daitengu clan of the outer world, and you belong to the inner world of Jiuqian. If we encounter a beast like me, although the other party will not give us a good time, they will not fight to the death. But if we encounter a dark beast, oh, I forgot to tell you, the exotic beasts that I mentioned before are called dark beasts. They're nurtured by darkness, and every dark beast will destroy the planet that nurtured them after they reach adulthood, because that planet contains the energy that they need to grow quickly. If we encounter one, there are only two possibilities. Either you die or it dies. Chapter 1493. This planet was lifeless, but for Netherworld and the others, it was the best place for them to cultivate. Lu Chan summoned Ten-Winged and found a withered forest, which was the best place they could find. Here, Lu Chun skillfully set up a simple camp. "You guys cultivate here first. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on you," Lu Chun said as he busied himself. Bone Demon lowered her head and said shyly, "Big Brother Kwong, you can patrol around. I don't want you to see me cultivating." Lu Chun smiled. "Okay, I'll let Little Beast and the others guard the surroundings. I'll go patrol around." Rhubarb and Furball left with Lu Chun for the time being. Little Beast and Originator were in charge of guarding, while Netherworld and the others began their own cultivation. This planet was much bigger than Earth, but the environment was completely incomparable. Withered bones, rotten wood, and dirty mud could be seen everywhere. There was no trace of life at all. When he was bored, Lu Chun asked Rhubarb, "Rhubarb, what was your previous level of strength in outer space?" "I commanded an army of 1,000,000 and dominated a region," Rhubarb said. "If compared to the Jiuqian, I should be considered a relatively strong main god." Lu Chun glanced at Rhubarb. Even though its appearance was much more majestic than before, he still felt that it was more suitable to be a cheerleader. However, since the Jiuqian gods couldn't leave Jiuqian before, why did you have a conflict with them? Lu Chun asked. Rhubarb shook its head. "Boss, your world was not originally in Jiuqian. It should be considered a part of outer space, but Jiuqian connected you to Jiuqian through a login. Once such a connection is created, it's impossible for you to break free from it now. Jiuqian has countless tentacles like this that help it expand wildly. Many of the worlds under my jurisdiction were devoured by the Jiuqian in this way. Tell me, as the Dark Devil Sovereign, how could I possibly sit by and do nothing?" Speaking of the past, Rhubarb felt somewhat regretful. He sighed, "I was too rash. I was too eager to reclaim my lost territory and rushed into the Jiuqian. I was suppressed by the sovereigns here and ended up in this state." The little fur ball lay on top of Rhubarb's head and giggled. It didn't believe that Rhubarb could be so brave. Back to the topic, Lu Chun sat next to a dead tree and asked, "Rhubarb, do you know where the nightmare taper is?" Rhubarb lay next to Lu Chun and yawned loudly. It said lazily, "The 3 Dao elders asked you to look for the nightmare taper. It seems like it might be one of the rare creatures that can travel through Jiuqian and outer space at the same time. However, this fellow relies on eating dreams to elevate its ability. It's unbelievable just thinking about it. I guess you can only see it in your dreams." Lu Chun looked at the little fur ball. "Little fur ball, can you eat dreams?" The little fur ball looked at Lu Chun blankly, as if it was thinking about whether dreams could be eaten. Why hadn't it thought of that before? Lu Chun thought about it and said, "If you want to fish, you'll need bait. Although there are dreams, everyone has them. It's too difficult to lure the nightmare taper here. Rhubarb suddenly looked up and said, "Oh, right. Boss, there's a galaxy illusion in outer space. It's said that those who enter will fall asleep. To the nightmare taper, that should be the place with the most food." Lu Chen's eyes widened. "There's such a place? Where's that place?" "It's in the Void Heaven Star Zone. How do we get there?" "My subordinates used to rely on dimensional talismans and dimensional portals. However, you don't have those now, so use God's arrival." Big Yellow said, "Boss, the effect of God's descent should be enough to allow you to jump to a planet. In outer space, whether it's fighting, chasing, or especially escaping, it's extremely important. Try jumping to the opposite satellite." Lu Chen looked at the small disc-shaped planet in the sky. His head buzzed a little. Jumping planets. In the past, he had used dimensional portals and clones to jump planets during the Human Guardian battle. However, this time, he needed to jump planets directly with his eyes. "Boss, the key to jumping planets is the control of distance. The trick is to sense the spiritual energy emitted by the planet. This is definitely not difficult for you. This satellite is very close. Try a few more times and get the feeling." Lu Chen nodded. Since Netherworld and the rest were cultivating, he might as well try jumping planets. Will I freeze to death if I jump into space?" "Boss, you didn't train your body for nothing. Our bodies have the protective effect of spiritual energy. There's no need to worry about low temperature, low pressure, or lack of oxygen." Lu Chen nodded. He had been to many worlds, but he was still a little nervous about jumping planets for the first time. Lu Chen stood up and took a deep breath. After carefully sensing it, Lu Chen discovered that sensing spiritual energy wasn't a simple matter. The spiritual energy in the surroundings was mixed. It was easier said than done to separate and distinguish the spiritual energy coming from planets hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. "Rhubarb, the spiritual energy in the surroundings is too mixed. Boss, focus. Sense everything carefully." Lu Chen frowned slightly and carefully sensed everything. He closed his eyes and sensed everything purely with spiritual energy. After standing in place for more than 2 hours, Lu Chen gradually entered the state. Reality observation. In this lifeless world, countless threads of spiritual energy filled the surrounding space, entangling, fusing, splitting, and reacting with each other. Among the countless threads, each one had its own characteristics. They were similar but not completely identical. Celestial Demon Observation Eye. Lu Chen activated the Celestial Demon Observation Eye. All of the threads became even clearer. At this moment, Lu Chen seemed to have returned to the heaven-mending illusion realm and forgotten his own existence. He looked at everything in the world purely from the perspective of the divine sky-mending stone. There was a saying in Jiuqian, everything in the world has spiritual energy. Even the soil, stones, and even dust had their own spiritual energy. After some time, Rhubarb and the little fur ball had fallen asleep. Suddenly, Lu Chen frowned and shouted, "God descends." This shout scared Rhubarb, and he quickly got up. However, when Rhubarb opened his eyes, he saw that Lu Chen had suddenly disappeared. No way. He learned it in just a few hours. Rhubarb's eyes widened, and he hurriedly looked at the satellite in the sky. Unfortunately, he could not see Lu Chen now. Lu Chen stood on this satellite and looked at the earthy gray planet above his head. He was extremely excited. As the saying goes, when the conditions are right, success comes naturally. He had cultivated God descends countless times in the Fisher world, and it was enough to support him to perform a planet jump. The level of spiritual energy also allowed him to successfully capture the spiritual energy of this satellite. I moved over from that planet. Lu Chen could not suppress his excitement at this moment. Ha ha, this feeling is amazing. Then Lu Chen looked at another star. Let's go to that planet and have a look. Chapter 1494. After encountering experts in outer space, The intensity of the battle was no longer the same as before. Planet jumping was the foundation of battle. A month later, Liu Chan finally found his way back. When he stood on this planet again, he found that it seemed a little different. There's some life in this world. Liu Chan looked at the new buds on the ground in surprise. After returning to the camp, Netherworld and the other two had stopped cultivating. Lone Quang, we've been looking for you. We've finished cultivating, so we can go now. Netherworld looked much more energetic than before. So fast, Liu Chan was surprised. Witherclaw smiled. We used to be 2-star lower gods. Although our realms have dropped, we still have the means. Bone Demon said, let's absorb the death energy first and then slowly refine it later. This will save us some time. Brother Quang, where are we going next? Liu Chan said, I've already checked out the surrounding situation. There are a few planets nearby that I think are suitable for you to cultivate. I'll take you there. The battles in the alien battlefield became more and more frequent. The battle between gods could easily destroy planets. More and more gods were joining the battle of the century. Just as the two sides were in a deadlock, the second alien demon joined the battle. At the same time, the 8 supreme gods of Jiuqian did not appear. All the battles were led by the master gods. The 3 elders of the Taoist faction had just watched a fierce battle. The alien beast and the Jiuqian gods each had 500 people. 7 or 8 planets were destroyed, and both sides suffered great losses. Suddenly, a supreme god from outer space joined the battle, and the situation instantly became one-sided. Of the 500 gods, only a little more than 100 escaped. If the battle continues like this, the Jiuqian will not be able to withstand it. Tai Xing shook his head. At this time, the 8 supreme gods still haven't closed a channel? The worldly Taoists said indifferently, if we can find a way to reach the 9th heaven, I think it's reasonable to bet on the fate of all the worlds in the 8th heaven. Since the birth of the Jiuqian, no one knew what the 9th heaven was like. Overgods are already at a high level, but they are still stuck at the 8th level, unable to break through the final barrier. Is it because the overgods aren't strong enough? Which of these 8 people isn't a transcendent existence that can cover the sky with one hand and dominate a region? But the experts of ancient times have been trapped in the 8th heaven. What kind of shocking secret is there in Jiuqian? Xianjin's expression did not change. Judging from the behavior of the 8 supreme gods, it is highly likely that the method to break through lies beyond the heavens. However, I wonder who among the 8 supreme gods will be able to obtain this great opportunity. In the current situation, even the gods of the 8th heaven were like a lone boat in the sea, let alone the other worlds. Over the past few days, the people on Earth had witnessed many deity-level battles, and they were all shocked by such terrifying battles. Even planets were destroyed in the battle between the gods. This was the power of a god. If a deity or an extraterrestrial beast were to invade Earth, there would be no need for an army of 1,000,000 immortals. One person could destroy Earth. Did you see that? The planets are jumping around so easily. Is this the strength of a late-stage deity? He is so strong. Recently, the gods have lost more than they have won in the alien battlefield. If this continues, I'm afraid they won't be able to stop those extraterrestrial beasts. Didn't they say that there are super strong deities among the gods? Why haven't they made a move yet? I'm so anxious. Even the mad god can't fight a battle of this level. It has only been a few years since the mad god resisted the army of immortals. It was not that the people on Earth had forgotten Liu Chen's earth-shattering battle a few years ago, but the battle that they were witnessing now was far beyond their imagination. For the gods, a few years was negligible. This kind of battle had lasted for 3 years. As time went by, the people on Earth also received more information about the 8th heaven from the human race's galaxy server forum. The gods were also divided into 5 levels: inferior god, intermediate god, superior god, king god, and supreme god. Those who could participate in the alien battlefield were at least superior gods. However, in the past 3 years, there had been countless battles, big and small, but they had never seen the 8 supreme gods appear. On the other hand, on the side of the extraterrestrial beasts, for extraterrestrial demons had already joined the battle. Now, the Jochian gods had few victories, and their defense line was getting closer and closer to the alien passage. Every day, there was new bad news. The pressure of being slaughtered at any time was like a huge stone pressing on people's hearts, and it was getting more and more obvious. Just as everyone felt that death was getting closer and closer, a super battle of 2,000 people broke out recently. It was unknown how many worlds were paying attention to this battle. Yi Fan, who was looking for treasures on Earth, and Lu Yi also saw this battle on the huge screen in the living room of a city. The battle was about to start. The moment it started, the unlucky planet was directly destroyed by the terrifying skills of both sides. The battlefield was directly transferred to space. The flames of war spread rapidly, and the surrounding planets were destroyed one after another. Just when people thought that the Jochian gods were going to face another tragic end, a white light flashed in the starry sky, and then a man in a white robe appeared on the battlefield. This man was from a myriad spirit tribe, and his main cultivation was sword spirit. He stabbed out with his sword, and a white light flashed, overshadowing the light of the stars, and it shone brightly. The sword traveled thousands of miles, and it directly exploded in the midst of the army of extraterrestrial beasts. Countless extraterrestrial beasts died tragically under this sword. Then, like a shooting star, he shot into the enemy's formation and went straight for the strongest supreme being of the enemy. The two sides only met face to face, and the supreme being was killed by the white-robed man's sword. The gods participating in the battle shouted, "Supreme Spiritual God," in unison, and their morale soared. The Jochian gods joined forces to launch a counterattack, and the situation was instantly reversed. The 3 elders of the Tao faction looked at each other when they saw this scene. It's the Supreme Spiritual God, Kong Gu. H's strength has increased. That sword has already surpassed the scope of the Sword Tao. That's the origin of the heavenly Tao. He succeeded? He really succeeded. He can enter the Jochian by prying into the heavenly Tao. No, it's still too early to say that. Unless Kong Gu has the strength to kill the extraterrestrial demon, he can't enter the 9 heavens. If he could enter the Jochian, he would have already entered by now. The worldly Taoist's eyes widened, and he said excitedly, "Even if spiritual god Kong Gu can't enter the Jochian, at least they have found a way to become stronger." Tai Xing heaved a sigh of relief. At least spiritual god Kong Gu's appearance has relieved the pressure on the gods. It won't be easy for the extraterrestrial demon to defeat him. In a different world, millions of corpses of beasts were piled up like mountains, and countless beast cores were gathered in front of an altar. The pillars of light around the level 9 altar shot into the sky. On the altar, the virtual image of a fairy-like woman in light clothes appeared. She looked at the beasts kneeling in front of her and said calmly, "Do you want guidance or power?" Chapter 1495. The leader of the mutated beasts looked around, afraid that what happened last time would happen again. Fortunately, the despicable brat who rushed to make a wish shouldn't appear this time. "We want to revive the mad demon war god. We want revenge." The elf's expression didn't change at all as he said, "You decided to revive him at all costs." "Yes, a super expert has appeared among the Jochian gods. We must revive the mad demon at all costs. Since this is your decision, then let that guy return from the endless hell." The earth trembled as strange phenomena occurred. The entire world was waiting for the former protector to return to this world in a different form. With a loud bang, a black shadow rushed out from the ground. This was a huge mutated beast. Its entire body emitted a dense black aura. Its face was ferocious, and its eyes were blood red. Its pupils looked like they were about to split open. It bared its teeth, revealing several rows of sharp fangs. This mutated beast's form was completely different from the other mutated beasts in this world. It's the mad demon war god. The leader's eyes burned as he prostrated himself on the ground. Demon Sealing War God, please avenge our clan. The mad demon's hands formed into claws as he roared towards the sky. A beam of spiritual energy shot out from his mouth and into the sky. The mountains collapsed, the earth cracked, and the clouds scattered. At this moment, it was as if the world couldn't restrain the power of this demon. In the next second, he rushed to the ground and crazily devoured his compatriots. None of these mutated beasts fled. They willingly waited to be devoured by the mad demon war god. Seeing this scene, 2 drops of tears fell from the leader's eyes. Mad demon, in order to protect this world, you fell into darkness. You sealed yourself, but your strength is still growing crazily. In this cruel world, we are willing to give up everything we have. We only hope that the mad demon war god will return to this world and avenge all our dead compatriots. Come on, devour me and become stronger. Then go and destroy the Jiutian. With a roar, a black shadow flashed past. Where the leader was, only 4 limbs were left on the ground. At the Jiutian defense line, a white shadow flashed past. These high gods couldn't even see who it was. A moment later, a white robe stood in midair. The white robe descended, and the myriad gods knelt before it. Greetings to the supreme, spiritual god. Kongu clasped his hands behind his back and said coldly, I have peeked into the origin of the heavenly Tao. Although I have yet to cultivate it to the greater success stage, all of you have already seen its power. The pinnacle of your pursuit is the outer heavens. Defeat the outer heavens beasts, and you'll be able to ascend to the top of the 9 heavens. The eyes of the gods below instantly widened. Everyone's eyes were filled with incomparable fanaticism. He had already become a deity, a high god, a sovereign, and was only 1 step away from the 9th heaven. After thousands of years of cultivation, who would want to stop at the 8th heavenly layer? Everyone want to go to the most mysterious layer of heaven in Jiutian. Was that the peak of martial arts? We will fight to the death. The people below shouted in unison, their voices shaking the universe. The Jiutian gods were in high spirits. At the same time, Lu Chun was jumping between planets with Netherworld and the others. In 3 years, Netherworld and the other 2 had already reforged their fate bones and regained their human appearances. Now, each of them had 5 fate bones, and their strength had reached the level of a mid-god. During this time, Lu Chun had also been moving towards the Void Heaven Star River. After a long period of training, Lu Chun had gone from being able to jump between planets to being able to jump longer distances. While Netherworld and the others were cultivating, Lu Chun was still strengthening his proficiency in God's Advent. Lone Tyrant, we're already close to the Void Heavens Star River. Rhubarb looked up at the stars in the sky. It's in that direction. Lu Chun nodded. Netherworld, Withered Claw, Bone Demon, I don't know what's in the Void Heaven Star River. You guys stay here and cultivate. I'll go take a look. Lone Tyrant, didn't Rhubarb say that once we enter the Void Heaven Star River, we'll fall into a deep sleep and never wake up? Lu Chun frowned. We've passed by some planets with high-level creatures before, but no one knows about nightmare tapers. They don't even know what they look like. So I thought about it. Perhaps we can only meet nightmare tapers in our dreams. If I were a nightmare taper, I'd definitely come to a place like the Void Heaven Star River. So, I have to give it a try. But Brother Kwong, isn't it too dangerous? Bone Demon's eyes were filled with worry. She really wanted to stop Lu Chun from going. Lu Chun smiled. In this world, no matter what problem it is, there's always a solution, isn't there? Moreover, Mu Sheng has helped me many times. She's also Yao Er's mother. I lost my mother when I was very young. I won't let Yao end up like me. It seemed like Lu Chun had already made up his mind. Lu Chun handed the star map that the Dao faction's 3 elders had given him to Netherworld. Netherworld, Withered Claw, Bone Demon, it's a pleasant surprise to be able to meet all of you on the 8th heaven. I'm happy to see all of you become more powerful. The war between Jiutian and outer space is still spreading. I think it'll affect the nearby areas very soon. If I don't return within 2 years, you guys can return to Jiuqian through the dimensional portals set up along the way. Lone Tyrant. Lu Chun did not wait for Netherworld to finish speaking. He leaped and disappeared from where he was. There were tears in Bone Demon's beautiful eyes. Brother Kwong, although I know you won't like me, it's my honor to have met you. Brother Kwong, you must come back within 2 years. Netherworld sighed. It was embarrassing to say that they were middle-level gods now, but they could not complete a planet jump like Lu Chun. Perhaps that was the reason why only high gods could participate in the war in outer space. Good brother, we'll wait for your return. Half a month later, Lu Chun arrived at a planet at the edge of the virtual heaven galaxy. As soon as he entered the galaxy, Lu Chun felt an inexplicable sense of sleepiness. What the hell? How many years has it been since I felt sleepy? Lu Chun struggled to open his eyes. It's best to go deeper. When Lu Chun looked up to choose his next foothold, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. There were pitifully few planets in the virtual heaven galaxy. Apart from some small planets in the periphery, it was very difficult to find spiritual energy from other planets. He could feel a large amount of external spiritual energy coming from the surroundings, but it was very weak. If he was not careful, he would not notice it. Lu Chun thought for a moment and said helplessly, "It seems that I can only directly teleport in outer space." This time, God's descent did not have a planet as a foothold. Lu Chun was suddenly in outer space. When Lu Chun was about to jump again, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. A large number of corpses of various races were floating around him. They numbered in the tens of thousands. No, it could be 100,000, 1,000,000, or even 10 million, because there were such floating corpses everywhere. Everyone was floating in outer space, allowing their bodies to drift freely in the sky. They all had different expressions. Some were serene, some were in pain, some were crying, some were smiling. Suddenly, an extremely strong sense of sleepiness overcame him. In his half-asleep state, Lu Chun heard a voice. "Since you've come to the virtual heaven galaxy, you must have come to deliver food to me. Why are you still unwilling to sleep? Don't resist. You're already very tired. Just let yourself sleep. Traceless dream of 1,000 years. Chapter 1496. Lu Chun could no longer lift his eyelids. The exhaustion was unprecedentedly intense, and his brain almost stopped working. 1,000-year dream? Could it be that he would experience a 1,000-year dream if he fell asleep? Lu Chen's subconscious told him that he must not fall asleep. Just as Lu Chen's eyes were about to close, Lu Chun wanted to tear open the corner of his mouth to wake himself up a little. "I can't sleep yet." Lu Chun lifted his hand and took out Wuji. However, the sword had turned dim at the moment. Could it be that Wuji had fallen asleep? Lu Chun seemed to have used all the strength in his body to stab the sword into his thigh. The intense pain made Lu Chun finally regain consciousness for a short time. After holding on for less than 3 seconds, Lu Chen's eyelids began to droop again. "No, I can't take it anymore. I'm so sleepy." He had to think of something. Did he have any cultivation method that could resist his sleepiness? He had never heard of such an attack before. Then he would let himself go crazy. Inner demon. Lu Chun quickly entered the inner demon state. As expected, the insanity of the inner demon state could slightly resist the sleepiness. "Who are you? Are you the nightmare taper?" Lu Chun roared. "Come out and see me. I need to talk to you." The voice came again. "Many people want to see me. There are many around you. Unfortunately, they can't hold on until they see me. Where are you?" Lu Chen's eyes widened. "You'll see me if you go deeper into the void galaxy." Don't blame me for not reminding you that the deeper you go into the void galaxy, the easier it is for you to fall asleep. If you can't hold on until you see me, there's no need for us to meet. Since he knew where the nightmare taper was, Lu Chun used God's arrival and flashed toward the void galaxy. After just one jump, Lu Chun realized that the number of people sleeping around him had decreased by a few hundred times. There were only a few people floating around. At that moment, Lu Chun was indeed feeling drowsy. This won't do. I have to let the inner demon state last a little longer. Otherwise, I definitely won't be able to resist it if it goes any deeper. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, Lu Chun was still awake. Hang in there. I promised Yao that I'll find Mu Sheng. Lu Chun gritted his teeth. Fortunately, the strong drowsiness had suppressed the effects of the inner demon for a long time, and the inner demon's effect had counteracted a lot of the drowsiness. Seeing that he had adapted, Lu Chun jumped twice and arrived at the core area of the Void Heaven Celestial River. Nightmare Taper, I'm here. Where are you? Come out now. Lu Chun panted heavily, but his eyelids were struggling. It seemed like he could not hold on any longer. At this moment, that voice sounded again. Interesting, you actually managed to hold on until now. Look around you. There's no one else around. Lu Chun did not have the cultivation technique to take care of others. He was about to be unable to hold on any longer. Nightmare Taper, I'm looking for you. A gigantic beast appeared before Lu Chun as soon as he was done speaking. The gigantic beast looked like a leopard, but it had an elephant's trunk and a lion's mane on its head. It was so massive that it was comparable to a small satellite. It's so big. Lu Chun was shocked. What kind of creature could grow to the size of a satellite? Divine demon fate, defying, is extraordinary indeed. The Nightmare Taper's huge brown eyes looked at Lu Chun with interest. Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't have come here. Lu Chun's drowsiness disappeared as soon as the Nightmare Taper appeared. Lu Chun got out of the inner demon state immediately while he was still awake. Tell me, why are you looking for me? Lu Chun finally woke up from his drowsiness and said to the Nightmare Taper while clasping his fists, Senior Nightmare Taper, I have a friend in the Jiuqian whose memory has been erased. Someone said that you can help her recall her memory. The Nightmare Taper's solemn voice was heard. What you think about in the day, you dream at night. Dreams are the embodiment of one's subconscious. If all the dreams are connected, although it's not the same as memory, it can help one recall their memory. Whether it's the Jiuqian or outer space doesn't make a difference to me. Of course, I can help your friend recall her memory. To be exact, she shouldn't be a friend, but the mother of your child. However, this doesn't benefit me at all. Why should I help you? Lu Chun asked immediately, What do you want? I'm a Nightmare Taper. What I need is only dreams. Lu Chun was stunned for a moment and looked troubled. Well, haven't you been devouring dreams? How can I help you then? The Nightmare Taper's eyes curved slightly. Dreams are different. Take the dreams that you usually have, for example. They don't have much effect on the growth of my ability. If you agree to sleep in a virtual galaxy for 1,000 years, I can help you. Lu Chun frowned hard. Senior Nightmare Taper, the Jiuqian, is fighting outer space now. The 8 supreme gods are in outer space. This is the best chance for me to save Mu Sheng. If I really sleep for 1,000 years, it'll be too late by then. The Nightmare Taper's tone turned cold. You want me to help you, but you refuse to agree to my condition. Tell me, why should I help you for no reason? Can't you change your condition? Lu Chun asked with a frown. No, the Nightmare Taper answered firmly. Lu Chun's gaze turned cold. If that's the case, I'm afraid we'll have to use force. Do you use force? The Nightmare Taper's expression became rather unnatural. Nobody had ever thought of using force on him since he was young. Speaking of which, most people would not dare to provoke him. After all, they would be in eternal slumber before they even entered the virtual galaxy. Ha! What's wrong, Lu Chun? Do you want to fight me? The Nightmare Taper's laughter was rather forced, but he soon got into the mood. He shouted in a deep voice, Lu Chun, you've got guts. Even the supreme demon from outer space can't do anything to me. Do you think you can threaten me? I'd advise you to be more careful. I don't know if I can threaten you or not, but I must restore Mu Sheng's memory. Lu Chun quickly activated his inner demon mode after saying that. He did not want the Nightmare Taper to make him fall asleep with a dream. God's arrival. Lu Chun quickly activated his skill and stuck close to the nightmare taper. Furball, I'm counting on you. Lu Chun tossed the fur ball to the nightmare taper after saying that. The nightmare taper's body was extremely huge, but did not seem to be able to move. It watched the fur ball land on its body helplessly. The fur ball did not care whether it was the nightmare taper or not. It pounced and bit it directly. The nightmare taper shrieked in agony. Ah, the god-slaying rat. It can actually bite my body directly. The fur ball was clearly very upset when it saw that the nightmare taper still had the strength to speak. It enlarged and bit down again. Ah, Lu Chun, you actually dare to make a move on me? Do you know who I am? I'll make you and the god-slaying rat wake up in nightmares every day. Ah, Lu Chun had initially planned to fight, but he did not expect the nightmare taper to not know how to fight, even though it was huge. Even the way it threatened was surprisingly weak. It was like hitting someone, and the other party said that he would draw a circle to curse him. It did not hurt at all. The nightmare taper doesn't know how to fight. Lu Chun was in slight disbelief. It seemed like the nightmare taper was very intimidating. Lu Chun thought about it again and immediately realized that he was not dreaming. The nightmare taper was just a divine beast that lived by devouring dreams. It was indeed very powerful. If not for the fact that Lu Chun had the divine demon lotus heart, he would not even have seen the nightmare taper. However, when it came to fighting, logically speaking, the nightmare taper should be considered the most powerful divine beast with such a gigantic body and having devoured so many dreams. However, no one had ever heard of how powerful the nightmare taper was. There were no battle records of the nightmare taper. In that case, it was possible that the nightmare taper did not know how to fight at all. Since the nightmare taper was a real species, it seemed to be the same to the little fur ball. The nightmare taper ate dreams? Although the little fur ball could not eat dreams, the nightmare taper was food. Little fur ball, it said that it wants to haunt us with nightmares. Lu Chun shouted and reminded it. The little fur ball was upset and began to gnaw on the nightmare taper's body wildly. Ah, Lu Chun, you're the first person who dared to attack me. Damn it, get this thing off me. Lu Chun, I beg you. Ah, Lu Chun, I take back what I said earlier. I promise you. Chapter 1497. The nightmare taper spat out a crystal ball that flew to Lu Chun slowly. This is what you wanted. Get the god-slaying rat out now. Lu Chun looked at the crystal ball and said in his deep voice, You should know that it can find you even if you hide at the end of the world after being bitten by the fur ball. The nightmare taper heard the threat in Lu Chun's words and said immediately, I won't risk my life because of this little dream. Lu Chun nodded and called the furball back. The furball followed behind Lu Chun and left with Lu Chun. At that moment, Lu Chun stopped in his tracks. He frowned slightly at the furball. The furball stared at Lu Chun strangely with its little eyes. Lu Chun's frown grew deeper and deeper. Subsequently, Lu Chun turned around and looked at the nightmare taper. So all of this is a dream. The nightmare taper lifted its head to look at Lu Chun. A moment later, the nightmare taper burst into laughter all of a sudden. Ha ha! Lu Chun, you found out? That's strange. How did you find out that this is a dream? Lu Chun said coldly. The fur ball is very lazy. It won't walk if it doesn't have to. Rhubarb, little beast, and originator are its mounts. Moreover, it doesn't look like it's reluctant to eat. In the past, it would grumble whenever I asked it to leave someone behind. But this time, it didn't hesitate at all. Most importantly, everything seems to be going too smoothly. Ha ha ha! The nightmare taper no longer looked as weak as before. Lu Chun, I've really underestimated you. People rarely question whether they're in a dream or not when they're in a dream. They won't suspect anything that doesn't make sense. But you can notice such tiny details. Do you know that you'll never see me again if you've noticed it a little later? That way, you'll be like everyone else, forever slumbering in the void of stars. Lu Chun also felt a lingering fear in his heart. If he hadn't remembered Rhubarb's words, he wouldn't have suspected that this was a dream. Rhubarb had said that it had never heard of anyone encountering a nightmare tapir. Perhaps one could only encounter one in a dream. When did I fall asleep? Luchin asked. The nightmare tapir smiled lightly. Before you met me. It's true that I'm not good at fighting, but I've been able to survive for so long. If I didn't have any tricks up my sleeve, I would have been killed long ago. Luchan sucked in a breath of cold air. Without him knowing, he had already fallen into a trap. Although the nightmare tapir was not good at fighting, it was the most terrifying opponent in another sense. However, to my surprise, the nightmare tapir proceeded to say, apart from Mu Shang's dream, you didn't ask for anything else. I'm curious. Aren't you interested in what you've been looking for? If you investigate all the dreams that I've devoured, you should be able to find out more about what you want to know. Lu Chan said calmly, dreams are too mysterious. If it's not your own dream, you won't be able to tell if it's real or fake when you check someone else's dream. Just like when I check Mu Shang's dream. Apart from what we've experienced, I can't confirm which are dreams from her memory and which are illusions. Moreover, I'm asking for Mu Shang's dream. It's too much for you. I'll find out what I want to know myself. The nightmare tapir stopped smiling and looked at Lu Chan with its huge eyes. You're the emperor indeed. You're different from the rest. I've seen the greed of these creatures in the void of stars. There aren't many people as rational as you. Since you found out that you're in a dream, you'll wake up soon. The nightmare tapir spat a luminous pearl out of its mouth as it spoke. This is what you want. Get Mu Shang to consume the dream, and everything in the past will replay in her head. As for whether she can retrieve her memory through the dream, it'll depend on whether she cares enough about the past. Just like what you said, the dream can only help her to retrieve her memory. It's not the real memory. Lu Chen took the crystal ball in surprise. This isn't another dream, is it? Ha 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 ha. A dream within a dream? It's indeed a game that I like to play. However, since you've seen through the dream, the foundation of the dream world has collapsed. There's no need for the game to continue. The nightmare tapir before him began to blur gradually. Oh yeah, Lu Chun, since you didn't kill me in your dream, I'll give you a small gift. A terrifying creature has awakened in outer space. It has no rationality, and it's extremely bloodthirsty. It'll be a disaster when it appears in the alien battlefield. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Who are you talking about? You've heard of it. It should have awakened 20 years ago, but you ruined it. The nightmare tapir's image disappeared as soon as it was done speaking, and everything around him collapsed. Lu Chen woke up abruptly and realized that he was standing on a planet. Is this the planet that I landed on when I first came to the void of stars? Lu Chen was completely dumbstruck. In other words, he had fallen asleep when he was still at the outermost region of the void of stars. He had been fighting the urge to fall asleep since then, but it was all in a dream. It felt like he could not get out of bed in the morning, but he dreamt that he got out of bed, washed his face, and brushed his teeth. Damn, that's terrifying. Lu Chen looked at his right hand immediately. At the moment, he was holding a crystal ball in his right hand that was shining faintly. Mu Shang's dream. Lu Chen's eyes widened. It's a good thing that I got it. Lu Chen put away the crystal ball and turned around to cup his fists at the void of stars. Thank you, Senior Nightmare Tapir. Goodbye. After leaving the void of stars, Lu Chen found Netherworld and the rest. To Lu Chen's surprise, he felt that it had only been a few hours since he entered the void of stars, but Netherworld and the rest said that 3 months had passed. Fortunately, Lu Chen had returned safely. The furball said that it had a dream and ate the nightmare tapir, but it did not taste good at all. Lu Chen smiled slightly. If it were not for this little guy, he might have been trapped in the void of stars. Subsequently, Lu Chen told Netherworld and the rest about the terrifying creature that the nightmare tapir had told him about. Boss, I know who the nightmare tapir is talking about. Rhubarb said. Lu Chen nodded. He had already gotten the answer from the nightmare tapir's reminder. It's the mad demon war god that those strange beasts in the rift world that I went to back then. If even the nightmare tapir said that it's a terrifying existence and a disaster, then Netherworld frowned and sighed. Does that mean that even the 8 supreme gods might not be able to defeat it? Withered Claw said, "Didn't they say that Kong Gu has comprehended heavenly Tao and his strength has increased greatly? Did the nightmare taper consider this factor? It should be a conclusion after considering it." Lu Chan said, "The nightmare taper gives me the feeling that it knows almost everything. It won't make such a low-level mistake. Then what should we do?" Lu Chan thought for a moment and said, "Demon Sealing War God, otherworldly demons, autarchs, overgods of the nine heavens, overgods, these are not existences that we can deal with right now. Now, our mission is to continue cultivating. If Kong Gu can find a way to become stronger in outer space, so can we." Chapter 1498. Luchan opened the star map. The latest star map showed that due to Kong Gu comprehending the Great Tao, the morale of the Jotian gods was greatly boosted. The star map also showed that the Jotian gods' defensive line was rapidly expanding. "It's not far from here. No wonder I can feel the dense death aura here," Netherworld said. Withered Claw nodded. "That's right. Recently, our strength has been increasing very quickly. In 3 months, I've almost leveled up as a 1-star intermediate god." Lu Chan thought for a moment and said, "Among the 8 supreme gods, only Kong Gu has shown himself. The other 7 have yet to appear. This means that they have yet to get what they want. But what is the source of the heavenly Tao? Where should we find it?" Bone Demon propped up her chin and said, "If only we could ask the supreme spiritual god." Lu Chun frowned and looked at the map carefully. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. "Perhaps we can deduce it without asking." How we deduce it?" Lu Chan said, "The 8 supreme gods lead the 8 different gods. As long as we look at the distribution of the spirit gods, we should be able to guess Kong Gu's range of activity. Let me ask the Dao faction's 3 elders. Then we could take a look." Lu Chun used voice transmission to contact the Dao faction's 3 elders and Nightmare. The 2 gave the same answer. The spirit gods were in charge of guarding the northern battle zone. Referring to the star map, Lu Chun drew the area where the spirit gods were guarding. Kong Gu comprehended the heavenly Tao around here. Within this area is within their control. The surrounding guards have almost completely surrounded this area. So you feel that this star field is the key. Netherworld looked at the star map. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said, "Lone Kwang's deduction is very reasonable. Kong Gu wants to guard this place and doesn't want anyone to come close. But the defense over there is so strong. How are we going to enter?" Now that the Jotian god's strength had increased greatly and Kong Gu was personally overseeing it, the alien beasts were unable to attack. Thus, Luchin also couldn't enter. Look, the other 7 elemental formations are similar to the spiritual formation. They all have a core defensive area. Netherworld drew out the other 7 defensive areas. After comparison, it was somewhat similar to the spirit element's layout. It's possible that the other 7 overgods are searching for a way to grow stronger. Only, given how tight the defenses are, the few of us aren't even able to get close. Withered Claw said. Lucha nodded. There's indeed no way to force our way in at a time like this. All the participants in the outer battlefield are high gods and sovereigns. There's no way for us to enter at all. But at least we know one thing. The power to become stronger should be in a certain place. At this moment, Gumei, who had been silent all this while, suddenly tilted her head and said, "Big Brother Kwang, rotate the star chart." Luchin did not understand what Bone Phantom wanted to do, but he still spun the star map projection stone. Is that so? A little more. Stop. Bone Demon finally did not have to tilt her head to look. She kept staring at the star map. There were a few suspicious places marked by Lu Chun and Netherworld. And why did these points seem familiar? Suddenly, Bone Demon's eyes widened and she exclaimed, "Look at these 8 points. What do they look like?" Lu Chun, Withered Claw, and Netherworld stood beside Bone Demon and stared at the star map. They look a little like I think they look a little like the bones of a dragon. Lu Chun looked for a while and said, "I think they look more like the curves of a woman, Netherworld and Withered Claw looked at Lu Chun together with a strange gaze. But when they looked at those points again, they nodded. Brother Lone Quang, the more I look at them, the more similar they look. These curves are not bad at all. Bone Demon, I think you can adjust them in this direction. The range is a little bigger. Bone Demon was speechless. I say, are all men like this? I'm talking business with you. We're looking at it seriously. Bone Demon took a deep breath. She was speechless. Forget it. It's impossible to expect you to see anything. Don't you think that this looks like the 9-star map in the 9-star heaven array? The three of them were confused. It's fine if Brother Quang can't see it. He has only participated in the Battle of the Gods once. But Netherworld, Withered Claw, you two have seen so many battles. Can't you see it? The 9-star heaven array will cause the stars to change quickly. It looks like there is no pattern, but the distribution of the stars will not change greatly. The only thing that changes is the 9-star heaven array itself. When the 9-star heaven array corresponds to different star clusters, the 9-star heaven array is not pointing straight at the sky. Factoring in the rotation of the planet and the tilt of the 9-star heaven array, it is not difficult to calculate the true distribution of the 9-star clusters. Lu Chun and the others felt like they were listening to a book from heaven. They could not get a word in for a long time. Bone Demon walked to the front of the star map and pointed at the defensive core of the spiritual god array. If this is the spiritual god array's star cluster, then look. This is the god array, this is the Taoist array, and this is the demon array. The approximate location is correct. The 8 points on the star map correspond to 8 of the 9-star clusters. Bone Demon finished speaking excitedly and turned to look at the 3 of them. However, the cheering that they expected did not happen. Lu Chun, Netherworld, and Withered Claw looked very serious, but their eyes were full of confusion. Sai, do you only pay attention to women's curves? I've said so much. Can't you give me a reaction? Netherworld was forced to respond. Cough, cough. So, Bone Demon, what you mean is that the buttocks are the ancient void. No, what buttocks? I mean, the ancient void's defensive point is where the spiritual god array's star cluster is located. It is the same for the other 7 elements. I see. Withered Claw looked enlightened. That means we should go and find the pole star now. Bone Demon nodded. No matter if these guys really understood or not, at least their conclusion was correct. That's right. The pole star's location is here. Bone Demon drew the location of the pole star neatly. The 3 of them looked at it carefully for a while and suddenly high-fived each other excitedly. What are you doing? Bone Demon was confused. I told you, Bone Demon. You've said so much, and the conclusion is the same as ours. Netherworld came to the front of the star map. If this is a woman's curve, isn't this a little less? This is the most important point of the curve. Netherworld pointed at the curve and was very excited. That means our train of thought is also correct. Gume almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Chan was full of confidence and said to everyone, "Okay, this place is unguarded. We can definitely go there. Then our next stop is the pole star." Chapter 1499. The outer space was too vast. Even though Lu Chun could already jump between planets, they still had a long way to go from here to Polar Star. Half a year later, Lu Chun received the latest battle report. The alien battlefield was getting bigger and bigger. Because too many gods had died in the Jiutian, even the mid-level gods had started to enter the alien battlefield. In this half a year, only Kongu had comprehended the way of heaven among the 8 supreme gods. The other 7 supreme gods still hadn't shown up. They were probably still comprehending their own way of heaven. Both sides were fighting frequently. Lu Chun and the others found that the route they had planned had already been drawn into the battlefield. Lu Chun and the others settled down on a barren planet and were discussing their next plan. It's a bit troublesome to go over now. Yu Ming frowned. We'd better take a detour. Otherwise, if we enter the battlefield, it won't be good if we encounter both sides. Lu Chun carefully observed the star map and suddenly said, "Look here. It's closer to the battlefield, but it seems that there hasn't been any fighting in the surrounding area." On the star map, There would be a red dot marking every place where there were more than 100 people fighting. Other places had more or less red dots, but this was the only place where there was no fighting. It was like a disc with a missing corner. If we go from here, we can save the trouble of taking a detour. We'll be closer to Polar Star, Lu Chun said. Since there was a shortcut, no one wanted to take a detour. Everyone immediately got ready and moved toward the target area. A month later, Lu Chun and the others entered the target area. As soon as they entered the area, Yu Ming felt that something was wrong. Lone Quang, the death aura here is extremely dense. Oh, didn't you say that there hasn't been any fighting? Lone Quang, look at the planet in front. Why is it black? They had been to many worlds. Even if it was an uninhabited planet, it couldn't be black. Lu Chun also felt that it was strange. He took the three of them and jumped to the black planet. When they landed on the planet, everyone was stunned. The planet was covered with the remains of plants, all of which had withered. The soil was pitch black, and a layer of black gas pervaded the surface of the ground, reaching up to Lu Chun's knees. Netherworld carefully inspected a withered tree. The moment his finger touched it, the withered tree turned into black gas. These plants didn't wither from the flames. They withered naturally. Withered Claw frowned. Strange. All the plants on a planet suddenly withered at the same time. Lu Chun summoned Rhubarb for it to take a look. Rhubarb also frowned. This is devil chi, but these plants are normal in the beginning. Normal plants can't grow in places where monsters gather. So this demonic chi appeared suddenly. The characteristics of the demonic chi here are exactly the same. In other words, after a certain creature appeared, all the plants here withered and died. When everyone heard this, they were all dumbfounded. That creature had only appeared here, but all life on this planet had withered away. What kind of terrifying existence was this thing? At this moment, Bone Phantom pointed at a dilapidated building in the distance and said, "Is that an altar?" Lu Chun turned around and was immediately stunned. "Lone Tyrant, what's wrong?" Withered Claw asked. "I think I've been here before." Lu Chun's eyes widened as he looked around at the world that had changed beyond recognition. This is a crack world. The chances of coming to this planet in the vast outer space were too small, but he actually appeared here again. However, this place was completely different from before. Originally, there were powerful monsters everywhere, and the entire world was covered in forests. Although it was a dangerous place for Lu Chun, it was at least a rich world. However, this place had turned into hell. This is the Mad Demon War God's world. He destroyed his own world. Lu Chun said in a deep voice. After that, Lu Chun quickly flashed to an altar not far away and took out a chaos core and placed it on top of it. I wonder if it can still be used. After waiting for a while, there was no reaction from the altar. Lone Tyrant, let's leave this place quickly. Netherworld said anxiously. If we meet that guy, we're finished. Lu Chun frowned. What kind of terrifying level is that guy's strength? Just the spiritual energy he emitted was enough to destroy a world. Netherworld, we can't leave now. The soil here is being eroded by demonic chi. It won't be long before this world disappears. After saying that, Lu Chun hurriedly looked towards the northwest. Let's go. Let's see if we can still find an altar that can be used. Some of the altars along the way have been destroyed. Lu Chun tried many times, but there was no reaction from the altars. Unknowingly, Lu Chun found a towering altar in front of him. It was the place where the level 9 altar was originally located. The level 9 altar was also a mess filled with black energy. If one looked carefully, they would see many mutilated corpses on the ground. Hundreds of thousands? Millions? Lu Chun couldn't figure it out. He only felt that it was a shocking sight. Lu Chun gritted his teeth. The level 9 altar can only be used once every 20 years. Since the mutated beast has awakened the demon-sealing battle god, it should be useless. Although the hope was slim, Lu Chun still decided to give it a try. After placing 100 chaos spirit nuclei on the altar, there was still no reaction from the altar. Just as Lu Chun was about to leave, a female fairy's virtual image suddenly appeared on the altar. She looked at Lu Chun and didn't seem surprised. "You've returned. Lu Chun was astonished. "This, you were summoned by me?" "No," the fairy said. "I don't have much time left. I can't make you stronger now, but I can give you one last free guidance. The demon-sealing battle god has awakened, and his strength is increasing crazily. In a few days, he will become the most terrifying otherworldly devil. But he has already lost control. Not only will he destroy the Jiutian, but he will also destroy the entire outer space. He will destroy everything in front of him." Lu Chen hurriedly asked, "Is that Kongu its opponent?" "Kongu. If he meets the demon-sealing battle god now, he might have a chance of winning. But when the demon-sealing battle god becomes a berserk devil, even Kongu won't be his opponent. His physical body is undying and indestructible. Who do you think can defeat him?" Lu Chen's heart sank. If this guy were to kill his way into the Jiutian, no planet would be able to resist him. "The demon-sealing battle god has already left this world. You are temporarily safe, but you only have 3 years at most. After 3 years, the demon-sealing battle god will complete his last upgrade. And after the hint, it will also be the end of the war in outer space. My mission has been completed. Goodbye, solipsistic." Wait. Before Lu Chen could finish his words, the female fairy's virtual image had already disappeared. The entire altar became dark and lifeless. The altar shattered and the stone pillars collapsed. After a long time, Netherworld and the rest came back to their senses. Just now the fairy said that even Kongu won't be the demon-sealing battle god's opponent. Doesn't that mean that the Jiutian will be defeated and the myriad worlds will be destroyed? Lu Chen took a deep breath, his expression grave. The demon-sealing battle god. Could it be that this guy is going to rely on his own strength to solve the problem? Chapter 1500. The Level 9 Altar Fairy completed its last guidance. Lu Chen and the others had to set off. 2 months later, Lu Chen and the others finally arrived at the Polar Star system. Lone Tyrant. Polar Star is your guardian star. We already feel uncomfortable here. We might not be able to accompany you on the road ahead, Yu Ming said. Lu Chen nodded. The closer he got to Polar Star, the more he felt a sense of intimacy. He felt that way, but Yu Ming and the others should feel something else. All right, you guys be careful. After bidding farewell to his companions, Lu Chen jumped in the direction of Polar Star. When Lu Chen got close to Polar Star, he didn't even need a star chart to determine the direction of his jump. It was as if someone was calling him from the underworld. As he got closer to Polar Star, this feeling became more and more obvious. After dozens of jumps, Lu Chen saw a huge blue planet floating in the boundless galaxy. This is Polar Star. In a spurt of energy, Lu Chen directly jumped to the polar land. The environment of this planet almost made Lu Chen think that he had come to Earth. No, to be precise, it was more comfortable than Earth. Suitable oxygen, temperature, blue sky, snow-white clouds, green plants everywhere, clear streams, and occasionally some animals in the forest. These animals were not exotic beasts. Instead, they were more like small wild animals on Earth. Lu Chen tried not to use his spiritual energy to protect his body. He took a deep breath. The fresh air entered his lungs, making him feel indescribably comfortable. He raised his hand. A beautiful insect fluttered on his fingertips. It stayed on his finger for a moment before flying away. What a beautiful world! Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh. Just like a fairyland, this is Polar Star, the guardian star of mortals. The feeling of calling me is even stronger. Lu Chen looked into the distance. Although he was sure that he had never been here before, he had a feeling that he wanted to go in that direction. Not long after, Lu Chen arrived in front of a huge waterfall. Upon closer inspection, one could see a waterfall spanning hundreds of meters. Behind the water curtain was a smooth stone platform. Lu Chen arrived on the platform in a flash. In front of the platform, there was half a stone tablet. There were words on it. The text was reorganized into Chinese characters. Above the human king is the human sovereign. The human sovereign is the limit. Lu Chen looked at this line of words and felt an indescribable sense of loss. Was this the news he received after crossing the Milky Way to the polar star? The human sovereign realm was the end. No, I don't believe it. Lu Chun roared angrily. Pangu said that a plate of human emperor could only correspond to a lower deity. Is the limit of a mortal a 9-star lower deity? A mere lesser deity can't possibly be the end. My current strength is already above that of a lesser deity. To reach the pinnacle of humanity is to break through the limits. Why are you telling me now that the Renhuang Plain is the limit? Polar Star, you don't know anything at all. However, no one answered Lu Chun. After venting, Lu Chun sat on the ground weakly. He could see the line of words as soon as he looked up. Lu Chun knew very well that even if he cultivated to the 9-star human sovereign realm, with his mutated physique, his strength might only be comparable to that of a higher deity. As for the gods, there were superior deities, major deities, and supreme deities. However, the supreme deities were still trapped at the level 8. Clearly, there were stronger gods above the supreme deities. The 9-star human sovereign realm could not be compared to them at all. He even began to wonder what was the point of him walking all the way here. After an unknown period of time, Lu Chun looked at the stone tablet again and suddenly stood up. Where's the other half of the stone tablet? Little beast, little fur ball, origin rhubarb, little golden carp, little green, Shinji, help me find it. Lu Chun called out all of his battle pets, ghost pets, and puppets. He was eager to find the other half of the stone tablet. After an unknown period of time, Lu Chun searched everywhere, but he could not find the whereabouts of the other half of the stone tablet. Pangu said that someone had reached the human sovereign realm in the past. Since that person was a human sovereign realm, he might have gone to the outer world to look for Polar Star. Could it be that that person saw the stone tablet and smashed it in a fit of anger? There was no hint about the other half of the stone tablet at all. Thinking of this, Lu Chun felt an indescribable heaviness in his heart. Nowadays, the war in the outer world was getting more and more intense. Not only were the outer world demons and the Jiotian gods fighting fiercely, but there was also a terrifying mad demon god of war who was growing rapidly. This war concerned the survival of all races and worlds. However, Lu Chun, like others, was powerless to control his own fate. That's it. Lu Chun sneered helplessly. In the end, I'm just a joke. Lu Chun sat behind the water curtain in a daze. His mind was blank. Dad, boss, everyone was silent. The situation this time was different from the past. Even Pangu only knew about the human sovereign realm, and this was the planet that guarded the human sovereign realm. The hint it gave could not be wrong. In other words, this was already a foregone conclusion. Lu Chun's limit, the limit of mortals, was only the 9-star human sovereign realm. Lu Chun sighed. Sitting on the platform, he stared blankly at the waterfall without saying a word. 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. Even Little Beast and the others had never seen Lu Chun so depressed. They knew Lu Chun too well. He needed to become stronger to save his father and solve all the mysteries. In the current situation, they were suffering along with Lu Chun. A month later, Lu Chun let out a long sigh. He came to the water curtain and said faintly, "Even if I'm only a 9-star human sovereign realm, I have to give it a try." Everyone looked at Lu Chun in surprise. Lu Chun smiled and said, "Besides, even if there's a limit to my strength, I still have you guys. Just like what Little Beast said, you are also my combat strength." Squeak, squeak, squeak. The little furry ball happily jumped on a Lu Chun's shoulder and intimately rubbed its head against Lu Chun's cheek. It had to work hard to become stronger for its boss. It seems that I need to practice the heavenly demon skill. Boss, don't worry. Even if your limit is a 9-star human sovereign realm, you will always be our boss. Dad, I also have to work hard. Benefactor, little golden carp only wanted to find treasures before. From today on, I will also find a way to jump through the dragon gate. Little originator roared, asking the others to beat it more in the future. Lu Chun couldn't help laughing. These guys, the spiritual chi here is abundant. I'll practice here. Little golden carp, take them around. Remember to stay away from the battlefield. Well, boss, leave it to me. I'll take them to a place far away from the battlefield, Little Golden Carp said. This time, Little Golden Carp and the others' expressions were different from before. They were surprisingly serious. Lu Chen's limit had been fixed. Only when they became stronger could they give Lu Chen a chance to face more challenges. Chapter 1501. 10 years. In these 10 years, the 8 supreme gods had broken through their limits and returned to the battlefield. A year ago, the Jochian gods were already invading the outside world. More than half of the 4 supreme demons and the 8 demon lords had died. The Jochian realms finally heaved a sigh of relief. They were about to win this war. Although the 8 supreme gods did not care about the survival of the Jochian realms and initiated the war, it would be good for everyone if they could really rule the outer world. At least for the weaker realms, they did not have to worry about their realms being destroyed. However, a year ago, an unknown demonic beast suddenly appeared on the battlefield and killed 7 supreme gods on its own. It turned the situation around and wiped out more than 500 Jochian gods. This battle became the turning point of the alien battlefield. In the following year, wherever the demonic beast appeared, the Jochian gods were wiped out. No one escaped. More than 40 sovereigns had died at its hands alone. As for high gods and gods, it had probably killed more than 10,000 people. In the myriad spirits star cluster, the supreme spiritual god swept his palm across, and a strange space appeared. In this space, he could see the other 7 supreme gods at the same time. The mad demon war god is getting stronger and stronger. If we don't kill him soon, there will be trouble in the future. A gray-brown-skinned man in the space said calmly, "We are pursuing the peak of the supreme Tao, but he is the peak of the demon Tao." A beautiful woman said, "If that's the case, why should we be afraid of the mad demon? He's just a lunatic without reason. Can he really comprehend the ultimate demon Tao? If those supreme gods, and intermediate gods die, so be it. As long as we have the strength to enter the 9th heaven, the mad demon war god is nothing to worry about." That's right. Since we have this opportunity to comprehend the heavenly Tao, we must seize every second. We don't have the time to care about these things. Once the heavenly Tao is completed, we can rule the world. A mere mad demon is not worth mentioning. Everyone, quickly comprehend the heavenly Tao and see if you can enter the 9th heaven domain. The other supreme gods had the same idea. Kongu raised his hand again and the space disappeared. Then, he looked at the stone tablet in front of him. There were 2 sentences on the stone tablet. Spiritual emptiness, wheel of life and death. If you see through it, you can glimpse the heavenly Tao. Comprehend the heavenly Tao. Control heaven and earth. All gods and demons are ants. It was impossible to tell what Ancient Kong was thinking. After a moment of silence, he murmured, "Hegemons are just 1 level below paramount gods? If I become a ruler, will I be able to enter the 9 heavens, where no one has ever been before?" Even as a supreme god, Kongu did not know the answer. The only way was to verify it himself. Kongu turned around and looked at the portal behind him. He had already entered this portal countless times. There was a strange space inside, and this portal was the key to helping him comprehend the 10,000 spirit heavenly Tao. The Sovereign's Gate. Ancient Kong took a deep breath. "I hope I can reach large success in the divine Tao this time and step into the sovereign realm." After saying that, Kongu stepped into the portal. 10 years passed by in flash. The nameless waterfall of Polar Star poured down in torrents. In the splashing water curtain, a figure sat cross-legged. There was half a stone tablet in front of him, but there was no teleportation door behind him. Water was the place where spirit chi gathered. The endless spirit chi of Polar Star gathered here in countless ways. The water curtain seemed to have isolated Lu Chun from all contact with the outside world. His white hair had already reached his waist, and his body size had also returned to its original one, 75 meters. It was just that between his eyebrows, There was less ignorance of the unruly youth and more tranquility. The road of Zhou Tian was hurried for a few decades, but he had experienced far more than that. At this moment, he had reached the end of his strength. On his chest, it was written, 9 stars wild divine, demon, human emperor, variant. What was the heavenly Tao's origin? Lu Chen did not find it. What he found was the end of the mortal world. Even if he broke through the limit again and again, even if he had far exceeded the strength of an ordinary 9-star human emperor. But in the end, mortals were not as good as gods. However, the interesting thing was that he had to continue on this path. Opening his eyes, Lu Chen took a deep breath. He had just completed the breakthrough to 9-star human emperor, and his whole body was indescribably comfortable. He stood up and came in front of the water curtain. Through the water curtain, he looked at the hazy world outside. It was as if he had returned to his hometown, Earth. This place is really good, Lu Chen sighed. I wonder how little Beast and the others are doing with their cultivation. Lu Chen checked his voice-transmitting talisman. Having cultivated to 9-star human emperor, Lu Chen had reached the end of his realm. Now, Lu Chen suddenly had nothing to do. Speaking of voice-transmitting talismans, Lu Chen had a lot of them in his hands. They were all given to him by the friends he met along the way. They always said, send me a message if you need anything. However, Lu Chen's pace was too fast. In the end, many people lost contact with him. Unfortunately, most of these voice-transmitting talismans were not myriad world voice-transmitting talismans. They could not transmit their voices over such a long distance. Lu Chen could only dismiss the idea of harassing them. Lu Chen thought for a moment. Little Beast and the others would contact him if they were in danger. Since there was no news from them, it was good news. My strength has reached the level of a superior god. However, Senior Pangu and Senior Geo have repeatedly reminded me to go back and synthesize the souls of gods and demons. I should wait until I go back. Qianji and the others protected Little Green while they searched for herbs outside. Lu Chen had nothing to do. He walked out of the water curtain and jumped upstream of the waterfall. The birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. The water was calm. The air was mixed with the fragrance of flowers and the smell of soil. It was especially refreshing. Lu Chen lay on the grass with his hands behind his head. He felt the slightly moist breeze caressing his face. He had not rested like this for a long time. At this moment, Lu Chen seemed to have merged with his surroundings. Unknowingly, Lu Chen fell into a deep sleep. In his sleep, Lu Chen dreamed of a woman. She came to his side gently, bent down, and gently stroked his cheek. Her eyes were filled with love and heartache. He heard the woman talking to him. My Chen has already grown so big. You must be very tired after all these years. Fortunately, you are still that kind child. You are still the same Chen, or who adheres to your heart. If you are tired, then rest well. Go and experience everything in the world. The flowers, the grass, the wind, the clouds, the rivers, the earth, the sky. The gods have severed their ties with the mortal world and jumped out of the 5 elements. They are no longer in the 6 paths. They are comprehending the heavenly Tao. But why do they have to jump out of the 5 elements? We are in the 5 elements. We are the people in the painting. Since that is the case, then stop and experience everything. Feel the meaning of existence. Chin'er, the heavens and earth give birth to all things, but at the same time, they ignore all things. This is their heavenly Tao. However, the beauty of the world needs someone to protect it. If the human sovereign is the limit of mortals, then go and surpass this limit. If the human sovereign is the limit, then go and become the limit. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.